We can go ahead and start the meeting and I can.
All right, let me know when he comes in. All right. Call this meeting, Toledo City Council, regular meeting for February 21st, 2024. Our first item is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll now take a roll call. Councilor Mix,
Here.
Councilor Kaufman,
Here.
Councilor Strong, here. Councilor Burns,
Here.
Councilor Sylvia.
Yeah.
In spirit.
Council President Bush.
Yes.
And I am present. We have 6. We have enough to conduct business. Our first item this evening is a presentation from Veterans of Foreign Wars for recognition.
Could I interject one thing?
Sure.
Could I ask that the agenda be amended? That we move resolution 1543, resolution establishing email and social media policy to discussion items?
This is not the time to do that, but when it becomes that time, I will let you know. Because it will be before we get to that part. That's when you would ask, can we move this to this?
All right, good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council. My name is Jim Beisman. I am with VFW Toledo Post 4227. VFW has a program. We believe that those sworn officers who are in our community, specifically police officers and firefighters, should be periodically recognized and honored. And so each year, we make a presentation to an individual and these various organizations, one of which is the Toledo Fire Department. And so I'm here tonight to make the presentation to the Toledo Fire Department recipient. These people protect and service in our community, and we think it's appropriate that from time to time they be recognized. VFW has only one requirement, and that is that the officer be a sworn officer. We do not choose the recipient. That we leave to the leadership of the organization in which the individual serves. And so the chief, Robinson, is here with me this evening. And I would like to announce that the Toledo Fire Department's recipient this year is Lieutenant Jacob Moose. And if Lieutenant, if you would join us, please. Where to go? Yeah,
So Jacob's one of our lieutenants up here, and so when the VFW stepped forward with this, we threw I couldn't tell you. We threw about a half a dozen names out, and we talked to a few people, and we based it on improvements, whether they be in training, response, personality, whatever the case they improved in. We had a few people that stepped up and said that improvements, some specific improvements in Lieutenant's case here on this one.
Working on it.
That's why he was chosen.
Okay, first of all, we have this plaque, which each year we place upon the plaque, the name of that year's recipient. This is to be placed in the fire hall, and I will present it to you right at this moment, Lieutenant Moose, but it goes ultimately to the chief to be placed. And then also I have for you a specific certificate of appreciation. I have not been able to see my appropriate commander and quartermaster to have it signed yet. So I'm a bit embarrassed about that, but I'm going to present it to you anyway, but I will get it signed. And my congratulations.
More than I expected, and I thank you very much.
And my congratulations to you, Lieutenant Moose.
Chief, thank you. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mayor,
Yes.
just really quick,
All right.
Council Silver is now online. I just wanted to know that.
All right. All right, our next item is a presentation. We're swearing in a new police officer.
Mayor. Thanks. So I'd like to bring up Brian Gahn. So Ryan's one of our new officers. Brian, why don't you go ahead and tell them a little bit about yourself?
From Philomath. I just recently got married to my high school sweetheart. Rachel.
Oh,
Thank you. Grew up around here. I graduated from Northwest Christian University down in Eugene with a bachelor's degree in criminal justice and look forward to working with all you people and serving this awesome community.
And our first order of business was to bring him on Valentine's Day, so I apologize for that.
It's okay.
So the first thing we're gonna do is the oath of office. Go ahead and recite it. You just your right hand up, please. I, Ryan, is it Gahn? Do solemnly affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States
I, Ryan Gahn, do solemnly affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Oregon
and the Constitution of the State of Oregon
and the laws thereof and rules and regulations of the Toledo Police Department.
and the laws thereof and rules and regulations of the Toledo Police Department.
And I will faithfully, honestly, and impartially discharge duties of police officer
And I will faithfully, honestly, and impartially discharge the duties of a police officer
during my continuance therein to the best of my ability.
during my continuance therein to the best of my ability.
Sir? I need to sign that. Like binding the card, just gotta sign. Yeah, and then he's gonna go ahead and read off the criminal justice code of ethics and sign that.
As a criminal justice officer, my fundamental duty is to serve humankind, to safeguard lives and property, to protect all persons against deception, the weak against oppression or intimidation, and the peaceful against violence or disorder, and to respect the constitutional rights of all people to liberty, equality, and justice. I will keep my private life unsullied as an example to all, maintain courageous calm in the face of danger, scorn, or ridicule, develop self-restraint, and be consistently mindful of the welfare of others. Honest in thought and deed in both my personal and official life, I will be exemplary in obeying the laws of the land and the regulations of my department. Whatever I see or hear of a confidential nature or that is confided to me in my official capacity will be kept ever secret unless revelation is necessary in the performance of my duty. I will never act officiously or permit personal feelings, prejudice, animosities, or friendships to influence my decisions. Without compromise and with relentlessness, I will uphold the laws affecting the duties of my profession courteously and appropriately without fear or favor, malice or ill will, never employing unnecessary force or violence, and never accepting gratuities. I recognize my position as a symbol of faith, and I accept it as a public trust to be held so long as I am true to the ethics of the criminal justice system. I will constantly strive to achieve these objectives and ideals, dedicating myself before God to my chosen profession.
Betcha.
So he'll be in the academy for how long?
16 weeks, sir.
That's our current academy.
Are you done yet?
Got midterms next week.
April 26th.
Oh, we
I was wondering, you haven't been pulled over in a while, so.
Every night. So who would you like to come up here and be part of the ceremony?
I know, well, I'm not driving, so.
Yeah, come on up.
My whole family.
Right.
All of family.
Family.
Here, I'll hold the phone. All of us. All of you guys. Don't be shy.
And then you guys, you got. I see that guy. All right, so go ahead and introduce your family, to everybody.
This is my wife, Rachel, my son, Ole, my father-in-law, TR, my dad, Steve, and my mom, Mary.
So this badge is an icon or symbol of our department and our dedication to our citizens in our city. The badge is shaped as a shield because we take pride in protecting and being the guardians for any and all the citizens who we encounter. This badge represents our mission statement, which says collectively as a department and as individual members, our job is to provide an exemplary level of service and protection to the citizens that we serve and to all those who may visit, work in, or travel through our community. As a Toledo Police Department officer, you are an integral part of this community as a first responder. So just hold on for this for a second. So when your wife pins the badge onto your chest, it represents the support and understanding, dedication, and compassion that they pledge to you and all the people in front of you. And this is your support team. This job will have its challenges and its love and support of your support system, your family that will help you. Okay, go ahead and pin the badge. As you accept this badge, understand you are never alone. You are now part of 1 million law enforcement officers who work throughout the country and who have dedicated their lives to serving and protecting everyone. You are part of the Thin Blue Line family. Most importantly, you are part of the Toledo Police Department. Welcome to the family, sir.
Thanks.
So, welcome. As part of our dedication to your wellness, we've given you this water bottle.
That was wonderful.
Welcome aboard.
Not turn them off.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Look forward to working with you all.
Just wait till you meet Daisy.
Let's not scare them away. Please.
I just want to make sure that was reiterated.
Leave my shower.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, Daisy's good. I was a little worried about.
Next item is to interview committee applicants for committee vacancies.
So we want to see if any people would like to go.
In a moment. If any of you, it's,
I see.
you cannot sneak. So if you would like to not stick around for the rest of these riveting items on our agenda, you may feel free to leave. We're not going to hold you in here.
Run now while you have the chance.
Roll up.
Where are you at?
Oh.
That's what
I don't see any.
I'd say not.
It's okay.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
See you, Alyssa.
And they always have people involved in it, yeah.
Bye.
Bye, I'll see you guys.
Whoa, 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 whoa. No. Oh, no. Okay, no. Oh, what? So what? Turn around. Turn around. For those of you that don't know, that, Katie, that's our new dispatch supervisor.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Keep going.
You're excused.
All right.
Well, that was happy business. That was a nice way to start.
There are some happy moments in this job.
Indeed.
Some. Our next item is to interview committee applicants for committee vacancies, in this case, budget committee. Do we have any of those folks here this evening?
Yes, Stacy.
Ah, you are back there. Everybody moved and I can see.
We
felt pretty good about everybody leaving.
Good to see you guys again.
Yeah.
Nice that we're not iced under this time.
No, please don't remind me. All right, there they are. Okay. There we go. Okay.
You have a copy of the questions on your.
I have a copy of the questions, but we're going to find their applications. There we go. All right. Right. First up, Stacy. Yep,
Yeah, take the hot seat.
we promise not to turn up the heat too much.
Yeah, we're.
Council President might have undersold the process at night.
They were at the warming shelter and I heard they were new to town, so I'm like, chick committee.
And
And they.
to both of them. And look, they're both here.
I know, that's amazing. Wow, that's good.
So Stacy, we're gonna ask you some questions. They should have been given to you in advance, so, and I saw you brought notes, so I'm pretty sure knowing you from that 2 hours of sitting together, I think you're gonna be prepared for this.
Yes.
So, and I'll ask you all the questions, and then at the end, the council will get to ask a question if they want to, and then you have questions you can ask of us, then we'll be there for that. All right, so first question, what do you feel is the role of a budget committee member?
The role of a budget committee member is to review and potentially amend the proposed budget for the upcoming fiscal year based on the needs and priorities of the community and advise the city council on approving the budget.
She
Wow.
studied.
I did my homework.
I did the same thing when I.
Question number 2. Have you ever managed, administered, or been responsible for a budget? If so, what size was the budget and for what purpose?
Not unless you count my household budget.
That counts.
Okay.
In this day and age, it really counts. So what are the basic services any city should provide?
I would say that those services that support the health, safety, and well-being of its citizens, so first, public works, public recreation.
In your opinion, what is the most important service Toledo provides to its residents and why?
So while I think they are all important, I'm going to go with public works because safe drinking water and sanitary living conditions are essential to human health and well-being.
And the last of our scripted questions. If you had $1 to spend, how would you appropriate it for city services?
So I'm gonna go with 50% to public works, 25% to the library, and 25% to parks and recreation. And those last two are simply because those are the services I've taken advantage of by choice.
Okay. Council, do you have any additional questions? All right, hearing none, do you have any of us?
I do not.
All right, thank you, Stacy. Andrew.
How come you got to sit in here and hear these questions?
Because they already have the question.
They already have.
I had to leave the room when they go. It's easier on the other people.
So in days gone by, we didn't publish these. They didn't know them in advance. And so we would have people step out. But now that they know about them 5, 6, 7 days in advance, it's like, so why are we?
Well, thanks for explaining.
So Andrew, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Good to see you when we're not cold.
Likewise.
So first question, what do you feel is the role of a budget committee member?
Now, since I can't just say ditto,
Well, you can,
I could, but it doesn't feel professional. A budget committee member should collaborate with those governing the city and key stakeholders to ensure that the city is able to provide comprehensive services to its residents. Committee members should also be focused on making sure there are adequate resources available for both immediate and long-term community needs, as well as protection of resources for unforeseen events, such as the ice storm in which we all met. Can you tell I've worked in government?
Some people consider that a dirty word. You know. Have you ever
Like the word
managed,
harder.
administered, or been responsible for a budget? And if so, what size was the budget and for what purpose?
Yeah, so I'm a marketing and communications professional by trade, and I have had oversight of a few budgets of varying levels from $50,000 a year to about $2 million. working for Rocky Mountain College as the Director of Marketing and Communications in Montana, working for the state of Colorado's community college system, where I had the largest budget. That is a state agency overseeing 13 institutions, as well as Mile High United Way in Denver, where I was the marketing and communications director for a budget of about, I want to say, 300,000.
Okay. What are the basic services that any city should provide?
So core infrastructure such as roads, utilities, parks, and emergency services, I think are paramount. Beyond that, family services and community enrichment programs such as a library and events and programs throughout the year, as well as an accessible community resource center such as City Hall that helps residents find the services and resources that they need.
In your opinion, what is the most important service Toledo provides to its residents and why?
So my wife and I absolutely agree on public works. At the end of the day, for me, it comes down to roads and utilities. You have the basic utilities, which are staples to quality of life. But then when it comes to roads, we know that high quality infrastructure around roads is how we get services such as emergency services, such as power during an outage, to the people who need help.
If you had $1 to spend, how would you appropriate it? No, correction. In your opinion, what is the most important service Toledo provides to its did I just ask that?
Yes, you did.
Oh boy, it's been a long day. If you had $1 to spend, how would you appropriate it for city services?
Yeah, so I racked my brain a little bit on this question, and I have to say I'd feel more comfortable answering it after I've spent some time with the city's budget and understand the rationale behind it. However, to align with my previous answers, I think that basic infrastructure and supports for families and individuals should always take priority, ultimately because local government, rather than county, state, or federal, is what people turn to for their most critical needs.
Council, do you have any questions?
Yeah. I should have asked your question, sorry.
Sure.
One thing that I'm noticing lacking in both, I'll stick to your answer, is a complete lack of recognition of the fire and the police departments.
Okay.
And do you not feel those are important?
Well, I did mention emergency services in my priorities for the city, and that would include police and fire departments. I think that they are essential. I did not mean to at all.
No, I asked the question so you could clarify that.
Of course.
So great. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from council?
You have it says on your resume here that you've been here only 3 months.
Yes, we just moved here in November. We were in Colorado before that for about 5 years.
You think you have an adequate handle on the community and such? I guess you've driven about every street there is.
It only takes about 10 minutes, but but yes, I'd say one of the benefits, as I've come to understand it, about serving on the budget committee is that this is a great way to better integrate into the community and get a sense of what is happening in Toledo and how we can serve the people who live here. I personally, you'll see from my resume, have been somebody who has been dedicated to service throughout my career. I've worked in nonprofits and education for state governments. So service is something that is paramount for me. And when it comes to serving my local community, after meeting with the mayor and with the council president, I learned that this would be a great opportunity for me to learn how I can be of service to the people of Toledo.
Any other questions? Yeah, go ahead, Stu.
Been here 3 months and you've got the handle on the city and such on there. And you do realize that this is a 4-year sentence. Term.
Way to go.
Well, as I understand, it's
Supposed to.
As I understand, it's 3 years and 4 years with good behavior.
Anything else, Stu? That's it. Oh, okay.
Yeah. You're cut off.
Andrew, do you have any questions of us?
No questions at this time. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
you.
We'll make a decision later on in this meeting. All right, our next item Visitors, public comment. First, is anyone online who would like to comment on any items not on our current agenda?
If anyone online would like to speak to the council, please raise your hand electronically and you will be recognized. No hands raised, Mayor.
Okay, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to anything not on our current agenda? Yes, sir.
Where do you want me to start?
Just right there, sir. And all you need to do is state your name for the record.
My name is Bill Riley. I live on Gaither Way. And this is subject to that. I have been there for 17 years. When you enter Gaither Way from 10th Street, there is a 15-mile-an-hour speed limit, which 4 or 5 drivers, when called that to their attention, say, well, that only applies to this end of Gaither. And I said, well, it applies to the whole street. So rather than make my own speed bumps and get in trouble by local officials, or, the strips, that you can draw their attention to what they've done, I would ask if we could have more signage, if you will. Like one at the end near 7th Street, it goes from 10th to 7th, and or something in between, both ways as they're coming, because you can only park on one side of the street, and there are children that do play in the street. Never mind the animals. There's a leash law.
I think we can make that happen.
I just thought I.
Yep.
Well, that's all I have.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Well, I actually have a question about that.
Oh,
So
go for
do we know for sure that the whole street is 50 miles an hour?
Well, it was posted on the beginning.
Okay,
Yes.
Not,
so we're getting a nod, yes. So that, I just wanted to confirm that. So
Yeah.
I don't feel.
it only goes what, 3 blocks?
I appreciate you coming in and asking because so many people get upset about things and they never go to us. And this is the way to get things done. That's
Exactly.
perfect.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else in the audience tonight that would like to comment on something not on our agenda? All right, seeing none, we will now move the consent agenda, which includes the minutes from the meeting held January 3rd, 2024, the executive session held on January 17th, 2024, and the goal setting held on January 24th, 2024. I would entertain a motion unless there's I have a yellow.
Yes, I do have a correction on January 3rd. I accidentally identified Harrison Baker as the library director. If you could just make a note of that amendment, please.
Okay, the as amended.
Well, that's what. Interim library director.
Deborah was still here at the time.
Is she not still here?
Didn't get that
She
email?
retired.
That it? From your neck of the woods?
I believe so. I'm gonna make a motion.
I would entertain one.
I move to approve the minutes from the meeting held January 3rd, the executive session held on January 17th, and the goal setting held on January 24th as amended. That's that.
Been moved by Kim, seconded by Tracy to approve the consent agenda, which includes the minutes from the meeting held January 3rd, 2024, as amended, the executive session held on January 17th, 2024, and the goal setting held on January 24th, 2024. I will take a roll call vote. Counselor Kaufman,
Yes.
Counselor Strong,
Yes.
Counselor Burns,
Oh, yeah.
Counselor Sylvia,
You know he's there.
He may or may not be online, his computer flashed up, and he just disappeared.
Uh-oh,
Oh, wait, hold on.
maybe that was his way of saying that. That's right, when technology works.
That's highly frustrating, isn't it?
Oh,
Okay, he's back online as a panelist, please.
Okay. Counselor Sylvia, how do you vote on the motion on the consent agenda?
Yes.
Thank you.
I can't hear him.
Counselor Mix,
Yes.
Council President Bush,
Yes.
I vote yes, motion carries 7-0. Now, under discussion items, this is where you bring it. So I always go through it in order to.
I thought that if it's first to the meeting, it's only on part of the agenda, parliamentary.
Only when I have to add something.
Yes.
There aren't any stupid questions.
Yes. Mr. Mayor, I would like to have resolution 1543 moved up to discussion items and taken out of decision items for this meeting.
Reasoning?
The reason is that it's a 10-page item and it is something that we should work through as we have in all the other policies and such on there. And I think it's a.
So is it because it's a 10-page policy?
No,
No, I wouldn't move it
because
too.
Okay, that's what I was waiting to hear, was whether or not there was some,
Consensus?
well, either consensus or some
Reason.
specific reason. And I don't mean just length, right? It's a,
No, I
Okay.
did some research on where it came from and such on there, and I believe that we could fine tune it before we put it into action. As we have in the past. For our policy.
so if we move it,
Counselor, the base document is a template from LOC.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
so question for you. So if we discuss it tonight and we get to a conclusion in that discussion, can we then decide on it?
I would like to have it put to the next meeting
Why?
so that we could have some other inputs and such on it. Because it is a policy, it's like we did with the other policies, we discussed it and.
Those policies were 45 pages long or longer.
Oh, what's the big deal about putting it to the next meeting?
I don't want to set a precedent where every time there's a large thing in a packet, that we must automatically then move it.
I don't think it's because of the size of the packet. I think it has to do with the subject matter.
Then that's what the argument should be around.
Okay, well, the
Not
argument
size.
is it's limiting what I can post on Facebook. I want to deliberate it more,
Yes.
We can and say that, okay,
okay?
right? Because that is something that we discuss. So
There
my
are some
question
points
is,
of this.
so my point is, though, if we move it into discussion and we reach a decision or a consensus this evening, if we then move it to decision? That's my question.
If we come to consensus.
Exactly. That's what I'm getting
I
at.
don't see that. You're heading.
I will say, yes, it can come to a vote.
Okay, that's all I'm getting at, is because,
It may not.
Here's
be the
why.
vote you want.
because in today's government, and I know you've only been back in this a while, Stu, but
Well,
a lot of things come down that what is one of the biggest beasts with government?
I would
Move
say
to
on this,
slowly.
we are not moving slowly. We meet 3 times a month. And this would only be
And
a
if we're-
2-week window.
Actually, it would be longer than that, because remember, you were also the person that said, why do we meet in the third one? And so why don't we make sure that that third one is just workshop ideas, not any decision items?
May I remind you that you also can make decisions.
But you said back at the work session that covered all of our council goals, that we shouldn't have to do that.
What I'm saying is that we still meet 3 times a month.
So where are we at with this?
I will move it to discussion items. I just don't want us to make it a habit. That's what I'm getting at. All right, so now that we have a discussion item, we will discuss resolution number 1543, a resolution establishing an email and social media policy. Mike, you want to take the lead on this?
Mayor, council, resolution 1533 is brought. 1543 is brought before you, establishing the social media policy. It is based on a League of Oregon Cities draft policy written by their attorneys and approved by CIS with some minor changes that I can explain. It does not regulate off-duty private use of email and social media accounts that do not relate to public business. Kind of the crux the reason, I guess, first I'll point out that the social media user guidelines are recommended on every city website. They're lacking. We don't have them. We worked on this a year ago, and it was not brought before council. I advocated that it be brought before council. And a lot of what this does is address the public records law requirements. Oregon Public Records Laws and ORS Chapter 192, which is pretty darn just kind of want to show you basically all of this. It's all the public records law. You know, very, very small writing. And so in addition to ORS Chapter 192, the Oregon State Archivist does administrative rules, and they grant authorization to government agencies in the form of record retention schedules, saying how long we need to retain something for that address the retention and disposition, how we're going to dispose of public records in our custody. So the public records law kind of says everybody has a right to inspect any public record of a public body in the state except as otherwise provided in 3 separate ORS provisions. One is exempt and non-exempt public record to be separated, public records conditionally exempt from disclosure, and the other ORS statutes are public records exempt from disclosure, such as child sexual abuse. You know, sometimes you get public records requests of police reports. And what is a public record is very broad, and ORS 192.005 sub 5 provides that. And I guess as background, I did, when a city fails to comply with the public records law, or a school district or any kind of other local government entity, the remedy is to appeal to the district attorney. And both sides provide written documentation. This is what was requested. This was why. The local government makes a response. From there, the appeal goes to the circuit court. And I've written a lot of those public records appeal orders for the Lynn County DA once upon a time. So public record means any information that is prepared, owned, used, or retained by a state agency or a political subdivision. Sub B relates to an activity, transaction, or function of a state agency or political subdivision. And C is necessary to satisfy the legal, administrative, fiscal, tribal, culture, or historical policies, requirements, or needs of the state agency or political subdivision. There's a few minor exceptions, but basically you end up with not only your written documents, it's any format, paper, electronic, video recording. If you look at the definition of photocopy and that's right after that subsection 005 sub 2 includes a photograph, microphotograph, or other reproduction on paper or film in scale. And so, and if you look at this, document that's done by the state archivist, social media posts are considered public record if both of the below conditions are met. Posts are made on an official public agency account or on a private account that's being used to distribute information for that agency to the public. And it says if a private account is used to conduct government business, then it becomes public and is subject to the Oregon Public Records Law. It's similar.
Question about that.
Counselor, go ahead.
And this is what my concern is. I'm really glad that you're touching on this. So my question is this. I have a private Facebook page and I post something random. And or somebody messaging me or texts to ask me a question and it's on my page. And so they want to know when is Butler Bridge Road gonna be closed or something like that. And I tell them the dates and I say it. Well, I'm relaying something about what's happening with the city. And then if they comment, let me finish.
Sorry.
And so they comment back. So I mean, if or say it's on the Toledo community page and somebody tags me and it asks me a question and I answer it. Does that mean my private Facebook now, since I am relaying city information, is now, see, that I have a problem with, because that's silly.
But it's the state law.
That's state law.
It's similar to if you used your private email account to
Yeah, which
conduct.
doesn't do.
Well, but hypothetically, because there are national politicians that have, if you use your private email account to conduct city business, if we get a public records request that often, similar, you get a subpoena in litigation, that private email account gets pulled into the litigation.
So since I said that, okay, the street's gonna be closed, now all of a sudden, everything on my Facebook is open to public records law.
Yes.
Hold on
And
one,
all my political statements are not allowed anymore, and all of this is.
No,
time out. Go ahead, Chief.
So from what I understand of the law is if you knew this information as a private citizen, and then it comes to you as a city council member, then that would be information that would not put you in that predicament. Meaning that if you saw it someplace else, be it on Facebook post from the city saying, hey, these are the dates the road's gonna be closed, and you knew that and you could point to that post, hey, I saw it on this post, then that situation would not put you in that predicament.
So that discourages us as the city councilors from updating people in the community via our private email or our private Facebook, letting them know what's going on in the town.
And I would just say that that's why your league, when you go to those trainings, they encourage you to have a political page, a mayor's page, a whatever for reelection, because then you separate that and that is your public page versus your private page.
I decided a long time ago I was not gonna be a politician.
I know.
A citizen.
But I'm
I
just-
should be able to serve my community and make comments
Well-
without having everything be
well, and
up in arms.
We're just giving you the state law.
I
This isn't
understand.
even our law.
we're kind of, so if you take your example and you apply it to public employees during public hours, if they're posting pictures of the inside of the water sewer treatment facility, if they're posting pictures of out on the job site, I mean, there's lots of issues
that come up because, you know, sometimes those pictures don't show you wearing hard hats. You know, OSHA sees that. You know, if you see, you can post pictures of, so kind of the basic premise behind this is you keep your public and your private separate.
Yeah.
However, I will say, because I have had to turn my computer in to the Oregon Government Ethics Commission
Yes.
back in the day when, you know, you didn't have unpluggable hard drives and all that nice stuff. I had a big Mac. I took it in. They had my computer for 2 weeks because this was back before we had city emails. Okay, so all my private emails had to be looked at. They went through. Here's the thing. I've never been ashamed of anything I've posted. I've never ashamed of anything I write in an email. They want to look. It's the law. Let them look. But you need to know going in, okay, that this is the law and you need to be ready for that.
So if it's already the law, why do we need a resolution if it's already the law?
We need a resolution because
Yeah, you have to clarify clear criteria and
can I put it?
publicly post the moderation policy on all the
Okay,
websites.
the reason I had to do it is because someone was suing the city.
That's not what I'm asking.
No, but here's why. Here's why you gotta have the clear criteria, okay? Because someone was suing the city over whether or not we did some internal things wrong.
Okay.
And they went after everybody they could, okay? Now, here's why, because guess who's covering us? CIS. Okay, so while we're in these chairs, if we do our job and stay within the framework of the rules, okay, then CIS will cover our tails financially. Okay, if we step out of the bounds of what CIS will cover, which is state law, which they require us to have policies and procedures in place, a la resolution, then therefore they'll cover us when this stuff happens.
So CIS is requiring the resolution or the state law is requiring the resolution?
Both.
They work together.
Why the hell can't the state just pass something that just is there and we don't have to keep doing stuff?
The state laws,
Have you watched
they already have made the state laws.
I mean, it's like.
And we are required to follow.
Well, I don't have a problem following them. I just have a problem remaking them every week.
So Stu, you made the comment that we had this 10-page article on, and this is a summary of those laws, or would you rather us pass out the book and let them read all of them?
No. Thank you.
I'm
I'm
just
not
saying
having
that
trouble
we could
sleeping.
work on this and get it simplified.
I mean,
Other cities
have
done that.
Other cities have simplified it or other cities, or I guess I'm confused by that.
You can look up on the internet, the social media policies of other cities and pretty.
Well, I mean, this seems
Pretty
pretty
easy to
simple.
read.
It's a one-page thing.
No. This is what goes with it.
The resolution establishes the policy. Exhibit is what goes in, what you would see in the public portion of.
what would be a link on a website, on a city website?
And what goes with it, the exhibits, is what we would be following and such on there, and there's things that are not too good. Covers
On the-
everybody's.
on the exhibit?
Volunteers.
Well, they gotta cover
Like,
every
so-
single thing.
Oh, this is all of it.
No.
Yeah.
It's not. Administrative procedure 9.3.
This is their full summary page, right?
That's
there.
the summary.
Yeah.
That's not the, you needed to go there.
Well.
To get the administrative procedure. This is just a review of it.
Yeah. and they
Kind of like our
reviewed it,
resolution
made
is
it-
a review of the other
Made
pages.
it, instead of just taking it straight off the League of Oregon Cities, they've taken it and made it for them. And that's what the League of Oregon Cities suggested that we do.
Can I see what you reference?
The Corvallis
This
summary.
one, the page that I pulled up.
If you look at the link,
Yeah.
that's where you should go
There's a
for the
link.
policy.
Oh, that's just a summary.
Yeah.
That's just a long.
Yeah, you need to go
That's the
there to see
summary.
the,
It's
So
easy to
for-
read.
So for example, in this case, exhibit A.
well, we can put a summary, that's easy.
Okay. In this case, yeah, exhibit A with the summary, what we have in the resolution is what that link is on their page.
Right. That's what I said, we can make a summary so that we don't have all this crap the first time. we got
The
it.
link on the website would be when you clicked on the link, you would end up with the
Right.
exhibit with the social media user guidelines.
That's what I'm saying. This is
Which,
just a
which
summary,
is,
not
which
the
is what
meat.
public bodies need to post on websites.
So all I'm requesting is that we discuss it and then bring that back with summaries and such, and then take a look at it for a decision item at the next meeting.
Are
Well,
there?
then let's start discussing
Is it you wanna
specific
discuss?
items that you believe we should discuss.
I think, Stu, so I don't know if this is gonna clear it up for you, but if you look at the exhibit attached, exhibit A, attached to our resolution, that is the social media policy that you're seeing on Corvallis. That is the summary. In essence, that is what that is.
That's what they put on their website and
So
then
this
that
is what we
link.
would put on our website would be.
And then you're right, I understand what you said, Mayor. The link is actually going to their policy.
Right.
Yeah, I see.
If
see
I
that now.
click the link and I go there. I mean,
So,
it's a big, thick policy
On the Corvallis one?
on the Corvallis one.
yeah, I mean, to me, that shows that Corvallis has clearly looked at the CIS draft policy as well.
Does any of this derivate from state law? Or is this almost like a carbon copy, just maybe reworded a little bit or something? I mean, is it all, I mean, if any, just. So that's my question. Are we changing anything to derivate from the state law to, I mean, if it's state law, it's state law and
Yeah, it's
what it is.
It's a good question. So, the basic changes that were made from the template policy are definitions. The purpose and applicability was added.
Okay.
And want to make clear that we're not off-duty private use of email and social media is on you. What the policy makes clear is when you're working in your official capacity as an employee of the city of Toledo, you shouldn't be taking pictures of inside of facilities that cause the military is big on taking pictures of
Oh, boy.
dams, taking pictures of inside facilities and right, and I've taken a picture of the Pentagon standing out at the parking lot while running by, across the parking lot.
Right.
And had a captain say, "Hey, Major, do you see that?" And I looked up and there's a sign, no photographs. So that's a security thing. And mostly we want to keep the employees from.
I feel like the last sentence and purpose and applicability should be struck. Because I think if we sit there and say the city may however regulate the time, place and manner in which Free Street is permitted and thus, you're gonna get tarred and feathered. We don't have the right to
Yes,
restrict
right here.
anybody's free speech at any time. And I mean, we can delete things that are inappropriate on the city website, yes. But that doesn't specifically say that.
We can regulate the time, place and manner by our employees
Okay, by your employees, but that doesn't say that.
when they're in their official duties.
But it doesn't say that. It just says The city may however regulate time, place and manner in which free speech is permitted, manage public comments in the city's social media account accordingly. It doesn't say it's by employees on city.
It's on the social media accounts of the cities. We can do that, not yours,
Okay,
ours.
but you said additionally, but
No, it
before that,
says-
it doesn't clarify that enough.
It's a social city media.
It says
account.
city's social media
Yes.
accounts accordingly at the end of that.
Yes. And thus manage public comments on the city's social media.
Because it's okay for a city, it's okay for a city to block comments, to not allow any comments. It's not okay for a city when somebody makes a comment that is negative about, you know, the Public Works Department or whatever, and then you block that comment. That's not okay.
So Mike, I think you're, Chief Pace, I think you're gonna talk about the same thing I was. Go ahead.
Yeah, me and the mayor had a discussion with the state representative due to this particular incident. Learning that particular statement, and I got. We talked to. So it's something that I would probably look into to make sure that we're okay, and because it got to the state level and they got involved.
So here's the thing. So for example, on the public safety page, right, they can put up a chunk of information for everybody in town, okay? And what they have not always done, which they are doing now, is you're not allowed to have comments, or no comments allowed, period. Because what had happened before was at one point, they allowed comments. And the comments went skewing really negatively, and some of them got deleted. Okay, so to avoid that situation, you put information up, you have no comments. We're putting the information out, but we're not gonna get into the give and take after that. Here's the information, plain and simple. Okay, you can do the same thing on your own page if you want. I don't, but
It's like sit back and watch it burn, you know?
you and I have a lot of the same, a lot of the same pastime. But the thing that this does is it protects the city, as in the entirety of not just this building, not just all of our employees, but essentially everybody, because here's what happens in today's world. Okay, lawsuits. People get offended and they want to sue somebody. Okay, and what we want to avoid is the city being put in the crosshairs of any of that type of action. Okay, there are enough things that we do as a city, whether that be in public safety, whether it be in public works, whether it even be at the library, that can generate openings for lawsuits. And we don't need to add social media and email to that possibility.
And see, the thing that we want to do is keep the websites that deal with city business, and the private websites go, you know, platforms, Twitter, Facebook, put what you want.
And maybe everybody already got it, but can I like clarify something?
Yes, go ahead.
So if you post something, you either have to turn the comments off when you post it. You can't wait for it to
You can't
get
go back,
negative
right.
and then turn comments off,
Right.
where some people were able to make, because then it's
And it's limiting free speech.
free speech. So you either have to do it at the beginning or you have to let it run wild. So it's easier to just cut it off right to the beginning. If it's gonna be a topic that people are gonna go.
To follow up on what you said, Counselor, the policy's kind of broken into email and social at the first half, and then social media. So in section 2, email use, those definitions were added. If you go through, records retention's the same, security precautions are the same. Section 3, social media use, those definitions, we defined what social media was. And post on social media, which was used. You know, I think, section 3, subsection 2 and 3 were modified. Section 3 was created, unless part of your official duties, city staff will not post on social media during work hours, during paid breaks. City staff will not post on social media pictures of city business or city facilities regardless of whether it's posted during or after work hours. If it's a picture taken while performing work for the city, even if the picture is taken on a personal phone, or unless pre-approved by an authorized social media user designated by the city manager. Subsection 4 there. Should pull up the other, I think was modified. I'll note that, for Vallis, just in glancing at the social media policy, has 5 pages just for email and social media. It's a 5-page document just for the social media portion. So they have put a bunch more detail on the bone. Anyway, paragraph 4 there was edited. You know, the and basically, you know, it's an unlawful. It's an unlawful practice with the collective bargaining. It's a ULP to request somebody turn over their private social media account information to log in. We're not doing that anywhere in here. When you look at ORS 659A 330 subsection 2, an employer may require an employee to disclose any username and password, or other means for accessing an account provided by or on behalf of the employer or to be used on behalf of the employer. So again, if you end up with a platform like Facebook and Facebook requires that to set up a government account, you have to use a private email address. That subsection 2 is saying we as an employer can ask you to provide the access to that. You know, in the city historically, there are certain departments that have websites, the police, the fire, which I think was started with volunteers, and now it's kind of volunteers and full-time. And the library. But those are this policy establishes, you know, they're managed by the directors. The directors are responsible for what gets put on the website. Did you have a question, Councilor Burns?
Just laying my glasses. Transfer to their website. Yeah. That way they never come in the information.
You don't.
You know, and that brings up, I overheard a little bit of your conversation, counselors. That brings up a good point. You can always, you know, if you use your personal email for something, send a copy to your city email address.
See, like when I use.
If you're really posting city business, you know.
Send a copy.
Send a copy.
That's all it says.
Because then that's being retained on our server.
So when
When I was using my.
Tracy's talking with somebody, then she has to send a copy every time.
No, I'm just gonna tell her, I don't know, call the mayor.
Yeah, I mean, it really limits you and it's. Or
No, that's not what he.
It doesn't.
He was talking about email. So for example, if you use your personal
I
email
did.
to respond to a city question, just include the city email address up in the to part or the CC part.
Or BCC.
Or even
Where they want
BCC
to-
blind
Right.
copy it. Okay, just so it ends up being and retained on the city servers.
That's all.
Okay, that's it.
Yeah.
Because then they pull the city server to see it all, not your stuff.
Exactly.
But if you enter anybody on the other social media, Facebook, whatever is out there, then
Well,
you are supposed to send that in too.
if you're talking about city business. Possibly, however, that's why we use, we want to control our social media. Couple reasons is if we do allow comments or we have comments, we do have programs that we subscribe to in the background that can capture all the information, deleted, undeleted, all of that stuff that we subscribe to through a program called Archive Social. And they monitor it for us. So if there are public records requests, we can go back and get them, but we have to have control of those accounts in order to get them. If we don't have control of those accounts, because we have rogue accounts out there that are purporting to be of city and not of city or something, then we can't fulfill those public records requests, and then we violate the law, or we have to go after the people that are doing that, and they have to turn that information and that's suspected to those search requirements that could happen. And that's why we put those protections in, so we don't have to search through employees' personal phones to get city business off of. If it's coming through us and we're managing it, we have it.
If anybody's talking about city business that is a staff member, city councilor, a volunteer, they are supposed to email it to you or get it to you.
You should be copying anything on you should be responding on your email.
What about the volunteers?
The volunteers?
Anybody.
Anybody on the city. That's-
Yeah, anybody. that's
Anybody in the
representing
city. Yeah.
Okay, and for your information, this isn't just a city thing. I have to do this at the school district also.
Yep.
Okay.
Even when I was just a volunteer at the school district,
I-
I still have to sign
I-
off on the social media and email policies.
Yes, you do.
So the volunteers, if they're trying to answer questions regarding city business, they
They
would.
have to have it all there. Yeah.
And this kind of establishes that he's gonna track the list of people who are managing the accounts and can post on the social media accounts. And it clearly says in here that the volunteers for the city are not included in that group. Counselor, did you have a question?
I just want to say that Heather, when she was on the council, she had a lot of people asking her questions about city business on her personal Facebook. So she created a Heather Dukic City Councilor Facebook page. She kept everything from the city separate. She would refer people to the other account if they had a question regarding the city. And the city had access to hers, as far as I know.
Right. So that's one way to,
And she kept them totally separate
right.
and didn't have to worry about it.
So what I've done since, because when I did not have a social media page of anything until after I got out of being mayor the first time. Instead of deleting accounts and all the other stuff, what I do on my page is if someone asks me a question, I will give a factual answer. Just, I won't go into
No
supposition.
opinion.
I won't go into how I feel about it. I won't go into any of that other stuff. I will just answer, yes, no, here's here's where it is on our website, blah, 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 and do it that way. And then I will always say, if you want to talk about it, right? Either it's either somebody who knows my number, or I'll say, here's my number, call me and we'll talk.
Yeah.
Because I can tell you guys from experience, trying to keep it all separate is going to be awfully hard unless you start from the beginning and are extremely disciplined about it. Okay, that means being willing to switch accounts all the time, being willing to have downtime on one account when you don't have it downtime on another account. But if you just watch what you do and are cognizant of the role you have in this, because if there's a citizen asking you as a counselor or the guy who lives next door who has only lived in the city, what do you say, 3 months, okay? Who are they gonna put more stock into? One of us. And so we have to be very cognizant of what we say and do. And I will say, from those of you that I am friends with on Facebook, you all do a good job. Okay, you're not, no, seriously, Tracy, because I remember your post from many years ago. You're doing a great job. Be right with you, Frank. You gotta remember that in this day and age, we are all under a microscope, and this is part of that microscope. Okay, but we're also in a day and age where we need to still communicate to people, and we still need to be open and accessible to people. And more, that's become Facebook or become X, formerly known as Twitter. I had to say that. Or whatever your social media thing is. Okay, that's become more of a way, but we've just got to be disciplined about it. Go ahead, Frank.
All right, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, so yeah, I just have a question. So if we created so I'll use me. If I created an account saying Frank Sylvia Toledo, Oregon City Council, and I friend my own personal one, does that put my secondary personal one at to where they can look at that if they were to go and look at the city council one as well, since they're connected?
No, you're the only one that has that connection.
Okay.
I don't believe so, Counselor.
As long as you use your city email address to establish the account, then your private account is protected.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank
Good
you.
enough.
That's what I need.
Already made great contributions to our community. Thank
I
you.
know, look at you. Yeah, when I went through the first LOC training and found out all this stuff, it freaked me out. Like, I was like, we're responsible for what? How?
I remember.
Yeah, I was not happy,
It
but
makes you want to resign.
yeah, but once I absorbed it all now, I'm like, okay, it's just how it is. It's, yeah. But I'll tell you, every single LOC training, there's people there that have been doing this a long time that are like, oh, I do this, and I'm like, you don't have to do that. I'm like, yeah, we are. And then they go to LOC people there and the LOC people are like, no, you cannot. So I mean, even people who've been serving for years and years and years don't understand how all this works.
A lot of the stuff I would post or can't post generally gets disallowed by Facebook when they say it is harmful or hurtful speech. They really want to post this. So
I just found that if I take a couple of deep breaths before I hit send, a lot of things take care of themselves.
don't hit send about 4 out of 5 times.
So Stu, any other direct questions?
I would have to say that you are more highly involved in cities, government and such on this than the rest of us. And I can understand that you need to have yourself faced quite
Well, what I'm
legally and such on.
But what I'm saying is that the legal parts of this, Stu, are to protect everybody.
The idea is that we on here, when I'm reading this, it becomes that if you even have, it's for all individuals and such on there that are slightly involved with the city, that they would have to understand that they are gonna have to create their own account. And I think that that's, if we're scared, I think we're gonna scare off a lot of other people that would not want to have this happen. Yes.
Counselor Strong, I just wanted to say that there's only 2 areas in here where we address the volunteers. One, under social media, subsection 2, we talk about under section 3, subsection 2. We say volunteers are not authorized to engage on social media platforms on behalf of the city. That's the only thing. They can't speak for the city. That's common sense. And if they did, it would have to be approved by the fire chief. If it was a fire volunteer, if it was a volunteer for the library, they'd have to have it approved by the library director if they were doing it, because ultimately they're responsible for their pages. If you go back onto the email section, under section 2, subsection 6, subsection 6, that's the only other place we address volunteers in this deal. And that is, discuss city business on a private email. They need to forward a copy of that email
to a city server, which would be then CCing their department head or the chief of police or the fire chief or whoever their
Or their own
volunteer for. So that it's on our server and it's there. Because our volunteers don't get emails in city email. They don't get a city email address.
I'm a volunteer. We're all volunteers. up here.
Well, I mean, I'm talking, when I'm talking.
They don't have us, you know.
We have you guys separated out here and as officials, and elected and not volunteer. So if you look at the definition, the officials are city councils, judges, things like that.
So that's covered in the definition.
Yes, it's covered in the definition. When we're talking volunteers, we're talking about, volunteer firemen, volunteer, that comes in and helps at the library. Those are mainly our volunteers, so.
Lisa?
So council, when we had the goal session, I kind of talked about our public records. And one of the things for state law is that public records for government entities have to serve an administrative, legal, historical, financial purpose. When social media was created, it was created to connect with people, socialize. Unfortunately, government agencies haven't caught up to that. And so everyone is still trying to catch up. And so what this social media policy is doing is just ensuring that the records that we create as a government agency are retained according to state law. And so whether it's created by a counselor, a volunteer, or an employee, we have to retain those for a certain amount of time. Oftentimes, we'll get organizations I'll get organizations asking if I can share a post for them. So from the city's Facebook page, we won't create a post because that is the original content and we'd have to retain it, but we will like and share it. And in my time in local government, I've seen counselors being voted off of the council just for sharing a post from someone else. So this social media policy is here to protect the city, the city's liability, as well as any employees or volunteers that serve that city.
Now, my question would be, were they voted off the council because it was in violation of that city's policy, their email or their communications, this policy? Or was it because people didn't like what they posted and they didn't want that person on the council anymore?
It was several years ago. It was probably 6 or 7 years ago. It's just before I came here. And it was one of the counselors from the city of Salem. And it was just this huge uproar. I honestly don't even remember the context of.
So it might have been the context, not the fact that it was
That's what
the way it was done.
But I think what she's talking about is that this is how big this has become,
Uh-huh.
right? So what we do, how we do it does matter. Jackie, yes, go.
Question. So if I post something city related on my Facebook page, how do I share it to the city? Do I send a copy of it as a message to the city?
What would the context be of the post? Is
I can't think of anything because I don't.
Is it something that the city could actually create? And
Like if I was,
Are you sharing something that she created saying
No,
that
no.
there's a parade at,
no, say I beat her to it.
okay?
And I just want to let everybody know, so I posted on my Facebook page, whatever it pertains to. How do I make sure that that is sent and retained by the city? See, I have questions about this, that's why I just don't post on Facebook.
The other, I guess to answer your question, I never got to the second part. Social media posts are considered if both conditions below are met. So we talked about number one, it being on an official city account or on a private account that's being used to make city business available to the public. The second one is if the content being posted is unique. Agencies don't need to retain preserve all redundant content in all
Right.
forms.
But say I decide to have a coffee with the counselor. And I post that. How would I make
That's
sure,
not a lot of them. Hang on, okay?
how would I make sure that that coffee with a counselor thing was on the website for the city? I mean, do I share it to the city? Do I send it as a message?
So the way the city's Facebook page is currently set up, if anything was posted from someone else, the city would have to review it and authorize it.
Right.
So
I just mean to get a copy to the city's web retention.
and I mean, there's several ways of doing it.
Gotta get there, Andrew. Hold on.
You can post it to your personal, turn off comments, take a screenshot and send it. That way you
Okay.
don't go into any sort of conversation.
Right, that's what I was,
So
that's what I
Andrew,
was saying, was just for retention.
Andrew, quick, come up here, state your name.
I'd be happy to.
Yes, please, thank you. Gotta make sure we do this right.
As a former public information officer for a state agency, this is something I've dealt with a lot.
We're glad you're here.
I promise I'm trying to be super helpful. So to your question, there's a difference between what is critical about this document, and I have had a chance to review it. I got excited about it when I saw it in the meeting packet myself.
Big man, okay, that's all I'm gonna say.
So
It's not this way.
there's a difference between regulation around dissemination of information and record keeping of information. And your question actually is a crowbar between the two. So when you're sending something out from your personal account, that actually doesn't have to be recorded in the same way that if something that you wanted to say was going out through your city council account, if you created a separate one, or if you sent something from a city account. That all has to be maintained through records. So for instance, the email concept of copying your city email address when you're communicating from your personal account, just don't do that. Because then you're still kind of subject to that record keeping, any open records policies. I apologize, I don't know all of the open records policies in Oregon. But generally speaking, as long as you are communicating from a personal account, you are personally, to some extent, liable for whatever you are saying. And so you should create that separate account. And it's not about politics, it's usually about protecting yourself. It can be just about information. It can be just about how you want to get information out there. I also wanted to address a question around that last line about free speech. The city may, however, regulate the time, place, and manner in which free speech is permitted. That's actually a really, really important allowance for any government. And the reason for that is misinformation. So let's say our police department was dealing with an active shooter situation. God forbid, I'm not hoping for anything of that nature. When they post announcements about that, saying, stay out of this area, evacuate an area, they don't want people from the general public going on and saying, I think the active shooter is here, or I think they are there. That provision, that sentence gives the government the allowance to prevent on social media the general public from interfering with what the police are doing, as just one example. So this doesn't say free speech is limited in that general sense. It's to say that in the case where free speech needs to be limited for things such as public safety, the city has the ability to limit free speech in the form of comments or misinformation. I just wanted to offer that because it was a little bit different than I think the direction of the conversation is going.
Andrew, we actually had one of those situations last fall with the fire down at GP. Okay, if you followed what was on social media, number one, the entire city was gonna blow up.
Oh, yeah.
Number two, we've called every fire truck between here and Timbuktu to cover this. Number three, people are dying in droves. Okay, none of it was true. Not one whit of it was true. Okay,
And again, that last sentence references city social media accounts, not
right.
personal.
And so a lot of this is ultimately about, let's say it's Andrew Keating, I'm a communications professional, and and the city were to call me up and say, hey, you're a consultant, can you just help us out for a week that we're really short-staffed, but we have a lot of communications needs. Now, I, as a volunteer, am coming in and I'm not posting things to my personal accounts. I'm posting things potentially as a volunteer, as appointed by the city manager, to the city's website, to the city's online resources, social media profiles, et cetera. And I'm doing that myself, but I'm doing it with the approval of the city. All of this is about saying that I have to understand these rules as the appointed person who is doing that on behalf of the city. Whether I'm a volunteer or I'm paid as a contractor or I'm an employee of the city, whatever role I have, if I am posting something to an owned property of the city, that I have to understand and abide these rules. It's not wildly unlike in the private sector that if I were also an employee at Georgia Pacific, that they want me to be using Georgia Pacific assets that they have record keeping for anytime I'm doing Georgia Pacific business. So that if I were to leave my job, if I were to quit my job tomorrow as a communications employee, or as, let's say, somebody in the purchasing department at Georgia Pacific, that they can continue the business that I started. Or if there were a liability question for something that I did as a bad actor, that their legal department would be able to go and find the behaviors that I exhibited while I was doing things on behalf of Georgia Pacific while using their assets that created liabilities for them. So utilizing the city email addresses, utilizing the city website or the city's communications assets protect both you as an individual by shielding your personal accounts from any liability, and protects the city so that if you are doing things that do create liabilities for the city can act upon them and have the records to protect the city in the event of a lawsuit.
Brian.
Well, I was just gonna say the one Georgia Pacific even was supposed to be ill intent. It was a retired machine tender who shared a picture of what could be type deal, and it literally spread like wildfire. And no, that was not the intention, but it still happened.
That's what happens out there.
Things that follow that too.
But that was not on the city website.
No, but we're talking about, so for example, if say one of us took a picture of let's say the public workshops, okay? And whichever one of us put it out there and said, you know, we probably ought to do X, Y, and Z with these public workshops. And it's not something that has been brought before council. It's not something that has been discussed, vetted, anything, then we're jumping the gun. Because what we should be doing is saying, should we look at our public works? We don't need to post a picture on that, but should we? You're asking a question. If you want all the comments that'll come with that, more power to you, okay? But what I've done is I've tried to just become disseminator, okay? So library put something up, I pass that along, okay? Fire department put something up all the time, pass that along. Chief Pace put something up, I pass that along. Public Works put something up, I pass that along. And I try to stay out of all of the he said, she said arguments because for two reasons. One, I know that people who complain generally on Facebook, it doesn't matter if you gave them a golden egg, they would complain that it's the wrong shade of gold. Secondly, it's not a winning argument. No matter how many times you get the right answers, it's not going to be the right answer. So I try to stay out of that. I try to show a little, for lack of a better word, common sense. But what we're trying to do here is not only inform our volunteers and all of our employees that this stuff does matter. Okay, it's not something to be taken lightly. It's not something that, oh, well, I'll just throw this on there, it's okay. Well, no, it's not. And you need to have some guidelines in place, especially for city communication venues, that they need to meet certain guidelines. That's what this is all about. Yeah.
So if we were to vote this in, Is it carved in granite or is it something that can be?
Depending on what the law does, if the law changes, we would change it.
It's already.
It's a resolution, not an ordinance.
Yes, it's a resolution. It's not a.
So when we contemplate that when we bring the personnel policy, that we're incorporating all these standalone policies to that is in long need of being revised to the council, when we bring that we will probably tweak the words a little bit, probably incorporate this into that personnel policy.
Lisa also raised a really interesting point. I apologize.
Go ahead, Henry.
Yeah.
That in just the last several years, I mean, even think about Mayor Cross a moment ago saying X, formerly known as Twitter, social media, internet use, the way that we disseminate information electronically is changing rapidly. And therefore, the laws around it are changing rapidly. So a lot of these measures are meant to be flexible, are meant to allow for that possibility that the technology is going to change tomorrow. And I even love, and I just thought I just noticed this again, but one really interesting thing is number 6 under section 2. The use of privately owned email accounts for sending and receiving work-related email messages is highly discouraged. There's no mandate in here that says you've got to do this a particular way. It's to say, recognize that you open yourself up to certain liability if you do that, but we're not saying you can't. Because this also provides for every staff or person who's appointed to do something on behalf of the city is going to get the assets they need to do that. At the end of the day, you know, electronic communication is going to change every minute. There's new social media outlets popping up constantly. You know, people got upset when Elon Musk took over Twitter, and so Blue Sky was founded. That's practically gone already. These new outlets are being built and falling apart every day.
Thank you, Andrew. I appreciate
Yeah, thank you very much.
thank you for bringing your expertise.
I tried. My wife kept telling me, no, just
Hold on, Council.
Down.
Hold
I
on.
appreciate your comment.
Frank? Our way,
Okay,
Frank.
so I got a question. So I was told before you should not do city business on a personal computer because that leaves that open for investigation, correct?
Yes. Correct.
Okay, so what happens if you create this new Facebook account for the city of Toledo on, say, your personal computer? Doesn't that open your personal computer open up to it because you just created a city of Toledo Facebook page, even though you're going to use it on a different device?
Lisa.
It's a web-based application, so the information is not stored on your computer.
Okay. Just wanted to clarify that part.
Another question.
Then,
Feel like.
Okay.
okay, next question.
Next question. In section 6, it also says you must transfer all work-related messages to the city-owned system and network and must realize these private accounts must be subject to public disclosure. And the retention.
Email?
Yeah, section 2, subsection 6, he's talking.
The start.
Yes, I'm trying to track with you, so. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Just to let you guys know, there's classes that come up every once in a while about social media laws pertaining to, that'd be a good class to present to you guys. Or have it available to you guys, we'll make sure you get that information.
You're on page 2 of the,
Yeah.
2 of 10, okay, and
Sub 6.
number 6.
Yeah, we were talking about.
Use of privately owned email account.
Use referencing the highly discouraged.
Mhm.
And then it's references also the staff, officials, or all volunteers. Not having to transfer all the stuff that they do.
For city stuff, yes.
To the system and such on there. And I know we had trouble trying to figure out how we were gonna, if we talked about anything. Somebody asked us a question and we answer it, then we gotta get it back over here and
This is on email. though.
This is email though.
You're under email.
Email.
This is email, and
Yes.
when I use my
There's-
private
This
account,
is this whole section that you're in, starting up back on page 1, is all about email.
And that's why you only use your city email first.
I'll use,
It's a really simple clear cut.
and then you have records retention that's kind of.
Record retention is in the
Section
middle.
3 is social
The last
media.
one is social media.
About to go on. I don't even have my city email
Yep, I
on
don't
my
either.
phone. This is
do I.
where it lives. This is what I put on my counselor hat. I go into my computer and my city stuff is right here. Nothing on my phone has any city stuff on it.
So we've talked about this a lot.
Yeah.
Is anybody,
I think there's maybe some public comments that people.
Oh, I want to make sure I get through all of Counselor Strong's.
Yes, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Oh,
I just wanted to point that out.
it is.
when I use my personal email account for city business, the only contacts I had, it was coming from, or my answers were going to somebody in City Hall.
So then there's already an automatic.
I don't have to do a copy.
On the.
If I had, all I have to do is carbon copy, CC or BCC.
Right.
The city is taken care of. It's
Right.
no extra work. It's,
now I thought you said not to do that though.
you shouldn't.
It's,
But I couldn't-
it's discouraged
We
because.
didn't have city
you're-
computers.
Yeah.
I don't have a computer.
I don't have a city.
I have a phone. So I used my personal email and then I couldn't get into my city account because my phone updated and so.
Yeah.
It was before Brian and I had to use my phone, my own email account to get any city business. So I don't care, they can take my phone.
So Stu?
I don't have anything to
Next
hide.
point.
Do this, I'm just looking at all this. It takes a while to get through all this, and I'm just, I can say that I'm baffled about it, and I've tried to go through it. I can imagine somebody was faced with this, it's like, oh, how am I supposed to get through all this? So, and then the part that it says that the city council delegates to the city attorney to add to the ability to add, speak, modify, and so. City manager.
Exhibit A,
Just the one pager that goes on the web.
and we're not gonna modify that unless CIS says you need to change that.
That only allows us to modify exhibit A, which is the public,
The summary
the summary that we have to post on our
The
webpage.
public facing,
with the link.
yeah. That I anticipated putting a link to the exhibit where Corvallis put it on the webpage
Right,
and did a link to the policy.
right.
Any other questions from council on this?
Well, this section 8 on. Says that, which we most of considered public record, and it goes on and says. Other stuff about the staff. and
You gotta read the
volunteers
rest of
and
it though,
stuff.
if made on an official city site or
Yeah.
on a city staff member or volunteer's official private account, which makes or receives comments on city
See,
matters.
yeah.
So, I mean, we've beaten that dog to death already.
That's from the LOC policy. That's
Might as well get it out.
LOC's attorneys.
I mean. We're discussing.
Yeah.
Saying that dog's dead, move on.
Next question?
Okay, you just kind of talked about the city council delegating to you guys to be able to be add. Yeah,
I mean, we kind of delegate to everybody, everything anyway. We don't really. Kind of our job to delegate us.
In a lot of ways, yeah.
Yep.
yeah, and it's the delegation on the very bottom on the section.
Yeah, you get the more consecutive pieces.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going.
Go.
All right, we'll take a 5-minute break.
Yes.
Okay, that's right.
So I'll wait for, Dave,
Yeah.
you can have some food if you want. You don't
Take
just
it,
need to
Bill.
sit there and smell it as it goes by.
Help yourselves. It's
Yeah.
for everybody.
Feel free.
I kept wondering.
It stayed with the love
Around here?
the mayor. Frank has his hand raised.
Is it still raised or did he just not?
All right, so we are back in order. Frank,
So I just have a clarification question. In the paperwork somewhere, I can't find it right away. It says that the city manager you have to have permission from them to create or post as the city. So does that mean we have to get permission to create a city council Facebook page and to act as a city councilor on Facebook?
as I understand the rules, and y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, unless we decide to have it be an official city webpage, no. Okay, does that make sense?
Yes,
So
sir.
I have a Rod Cross mayor page.
Yeah.
I don't have to run that through the city to do that. Okay, but I also don't post on there unless it's, I can black letter law type stuff, right?
Right.
So unless we want to create a page that is, for lack of a better word, an official city page, in other words, our own page as an official city page, no, we don't have to go through the city manager for that.
Okay, good enough.
Okay. Am I
Thank you.
correct, Counselor?
You're correct.
Thank you. All right. Sue, next question?
Well, it says, volunteers not authorized to engage on social media platforms on behalf of the city. I guess that's.
So we're talking about. Sorry, go ahead.
So if we were creating a city's webpage and such on there, then the volunteers would have to get permission and such on there to be able to operate on that, right?
But by definition.
To make posts on the official city website like Lisa does.
For the city's official Facebook page, like Lisa does. Or the police department's official police department page, or the fire department's official police department page.
So if they created their own page, then they would be responsible for it if they put any city
As long
information.
as they're not purporting it to be part of the city, they can create whatever page they want.
But if they were a volunteer working during the city and such on there, and then they were reporting stuff on their page, then they would have to be archived. It would have to come back and be archived with the city and such. I mean, right now, there's that Toledo homepage and such on there.
So-
Toledo community, Toledo
And
homepage.
people are posting and such on there.
And
That's private.
Yeah, those are.
They just can't post like they're on behalf of the city without permission.
Yeah.
So if he goes to the fire chief, and the volunteer goes to the fire chief, say, hey, can I post this? And the fire chief says, yeah, go ahead. He's got his city's position because he's going off the authority of the fire chief. And if the fire chief's wrong, he's answering to the city manager because why did you post this? Or he's got the permission and he got it through his chain of command.
So if he gets permission to post things, he could post things on there. And does he have to get permission for every post, or does it have to be? Can he just get permission to post things if he was on there?
If he's posting on behalf of the city, he would have to have permission.
Every
Post it every time, or
On
on behalf of the city?
Yes.
On the city's webpage,
On the
on the
city's
city's
webpage.
page, on the city's webpage
Yes.
or the city's Facebook, not on Stu Strom, city councilor.
Right.
They don't care about that. So
Wait.
I have a question for clarification that might answer a lot of these. Once information becomes public, once it's discussed in an open council session, it doesn't matter if I post it on my Facebook page because it's already open information, correct? Lisa?
Thank you.
However, if
You posted something to your personal Facebook page about it. and people started asking you questions and you started engaging in conversation about maybe what the council was following up on that discussion.
Yeah,
Then that's considered city business.
once I disclose something that is not something that has been discussed or disclosed in open council, that's when you start having problems.
And when you're representing yourself as a counselor.
Yes.
There are all of those little caveats to it.
So if you're posting as you just generally post, and then all of a sudden people assume you're a city councilor or something. So, yeah, then you're getting in trouble by posting, but you have to then have the records, have it over here so you can record it.
So for example, say you are at Art Oysters and Brews during the summer and you're taking some pictures and you're posting to your Facebook page. If you're just sitting at the table having fun, that's great. If you're sitting there and you post a picture of yourself with, say, Representative Gomberg, and you're talking about how you're discussing and trying to, get funding for some infrastructure projects, then you're including that city information and that city business. And that's where the lines cross. That's where you're going over that.
That's where that would be a public record.
And then it becomes a public record and you have to then make a copy or get it somehow to you so you can archive it. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay.
Or you can just say on your Facebook page, look, I had lunch today at Art Oysters and Brews with Representative Gomberg, and leave it at that.
And then you're limited yourself on being able to talk about things.
Okay.
Like free speech. That goes in
All right.
there.
Let me see if I can clarify some of this. Okay, so in the state of Oregon, we have what's now known as serial meetings law.
Yeah.
Okay, you understand that law?
Most of it.
Okay, so for example, I can't go to you and have a conversation about this item, then turn around and go to you and have a conversation about this item, turn around and go have a conversation with her, or however it works. Okay,
Outside of the public meeting,
outside of the public meeting, right?
deciding.
What do you think happens in social media? That means that I have just made a statement that every one of you can read about my thoughts on something that we're discussing that has all of a sudden jumped right into serial meeting law. And that's why they're being sticklers about this. Because in the state of Oregon, the serial meetings law is stringent. That is one of the things that is huge in our law about what you do as a public official.
And that's an example that, the legislature just passed a bill that the Oregon Government Ethics Commission will regulate public meetings. I mean, that's something that could get you a $5,000 fine.
I was about to say, there's some scary.
Him put some language in there saying, I like the social media policy, and 3 of you thumbsing it up might get you in trouble.
That's right. That makes it a serial meeting.
That's a serial meeting.
That's a serial meeting. Frank? Go ahead, Frank.
All right, I was trying to get my thing unmuted. So I guess I'll go and use me as a example here. The open council meeting where it was discussed with Public Works about the closing of Butler Bridge. I went on to social media after the date was given and made the post, just an FYI, you guys need to understand that this road is going to be 100% closed from this date to this date while they do the road stuff. Seems how that was already discussed in open council, that doesn't need to be copied over to the city. Is that what I'm understanding?
Correct. And you also stated just the facts.
Right.
You didn't go into whether or not you agreed with it. You didn't go into whether or not you thought it might or isn't a good idea. You didn't go into any supposition.
And an extra added thing to cover your, would be to turn comments off when you do that. Because the comments and engaging with people can get you in trouble too. So if you just cut that off at the beginning, then that won't be an issue either.
Right.
Oh, it'll be an issue.
But it'll be a different kind of issue.
Yeah. So
Good
if
Go ahead.
I said something about what Frank just said, and it would be, and then somebody else could be, you get into that serial meeting thing on there.
Well,
It would
and
have to-
serial meetings directed at making a decision outside of a public meeting where all of you are getting all the same information.
But where the social media walks that gray area at the moment, which it may not become a gray area soon if the state legislature passes this series of bills they're talking about, is what you said earlier. I post my opinion up about something and 3 of you like it. Well, that's 4 of us. That could be that the way the way the rules are headed, that could be construed as a serial meeting and a violation.
And you look at, sorry.
No, go ahead. I'm letting you finish. That way to pause was for Andrew in the back, and then I'll bring him back up.
I was gonna say, it's like the Hatch Act.
Right.
Federal government. Federal employees, military employees, the little Hatch Act that we have at the state level. Just gotta be careful. And they're pretty big on, you know, you're an employee and you like that political post, or you make that comment, you know, it'll cause an investigation. You can get in trouble.
Go ahead, Andrew.
So correct me if I'm wrong, obviously, but just because you are a public official or a city employee does not mean you are not also a citizen. And so you can operate as both. And this is one of the reasons why most individuals who are in high profile positions tend to have that second account. It allows for them to separate their public life and their publicly scrutable life from their private life. So you are communicating either as a representative of your government, representative of the city council, or you are simply representing yourself as a private citizen. This is why you see a lot of public officials on their private accounts putting the little disclaimer in the bio that says, all views and opinions here are my own and do not represent the city of Toledo. It's a very, very common disclaimer. I don't know that it fully protects on a legal level, but it is a very common disclaimer that separates, at least for public perception, that when you are communicating with me, and so I could do this when I was, working for United Way or when I was working for the state as a public information officer, when I'm just posting things as Andrew Keating, that's not me saying this is the opinion of United Way or this is the opinion of the state. So having that little disclaimer or just kind of recognizing that when you don't have your government hat on, you are not a representative of the government.
So, thank you. So I'll need you to come up and just state your name for the record so that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Andrew's done this a couple of times now tonight, so we all know where Andrew's at.
Brett Butler, I'm a new employee here for the city of Toledo. Proud union member, and we're still trying to find our way as a union voice and whatnot. So I was just curious if you could possibly comment in regards to how obviously we represent the city of Toledo. Anything that's official needs to go through official channels. How does that pertain to having like a union Facebook page?
I can address that.
Thank you.
You can.
Should I be here or should I be?
No, you're fine. You're fine.
I like it.
You might and probably have a follow-up question.
You absolutely can have a union Facebook page. You absolutely can put whatever you want on it. But pictures that are taken, you can't take pictures and make posts while you're working.
While we're on the clock.
Right.
So our terminology on our current Facebook page, is that pretty appropriate in line with what this policy would actually be as we move forward? Does that make sense? Or do you not want to comment yet on that? Because any way that we can improve while having a voice as a union, we're obviously more than willing to do. And I am not union.
I would just say that your sole representative of your union is your attorney, staff. I would ask him to comment on how you might make the Facebook page better. And I say that for lawyer ethics roles because he represents you in that arena, so I shouldn't.
Absolutely, and that makes sense.
So I shouldn't give you that advice.
Okay, fair enough.
We didn't select it.
So obviously.
If you guys can have a Facebook page
Mhm.
and we can have a public works page even, if you guys want to. And we can submit, you can submit things, but they have to be approved before they get posted. That's the way it works out with that.
But not
On the
on,
works page.
on the public works. page.
But on your
Yeah.
TEA. But on the
Be a separate, private. Kind of.
Right, it's a separate.
As long as the photos, we're not stepping on the city's feet by taking photos on company time.
Right, I mean, you can post about MLRB decisions and security rights and.
Photos of me and my Chevelle.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Pictures in your,
Hey. You're talking about cars of my youth now. So
1965.
even pictures, you're having your union meeting, those types of things.
Remember
Yeah.
those?
Even, because some of your union meetings are also covered under pay by the collective bargaining agreement. As long as you're in that union meeting, you can post those pictures that you've taken during that time. But like during work time, unless you've been directed by a management, Jeff or Brian, say, to take pictures of something, that would be the only time you'd be taking pictures out onto the job for work
Or we
purpose.
have to go through the city website.
And those would go through the city, or is there a chance you could post them? Yes, if you had approval from the city to post them.
Okay. Gentlemen, anybody else? I'm sorry, you're in charge. You go ahead.
Any of your other, go ahead, come on up. Just state your name, so we got it in the record.
That was fair.
Caleb
That
Hall.
was fair enough. He is our attorney.
Said, question, does the city consider content captured on an employee's personal device during an unpaid lunch break or a 10-minute paid rest break, city property or content that must be approved by the city of Toledo management before it can be disseminated by the employee?
Say that again.
So if it's on a.
Pictures that we take on our personal phones, on our unpaid lunch breaks or our paid rest breaks that are mandated by the state.
Can we take
to use.
photos? You can take photos of anything you want, but taking pictures of the inside of the sewer plant or the water plant or the
Right.
job site.
But taking a
No,
picture, taking a
but-
picture of a job site that anybody driving by can take a picture of. Any Joe Schmo off the street can take the same picture that I'm taking on my unpaid lunch break. You're saying that we have to get your approval to post that on our union page.
Not unpaid, because then they're on their own personal time, but if
Right,
you're a
yeah.
Joe Blow citizen. So if you're Joe Blow citizen, when you're not paid,
You can take photos.
You can take photos of anything that's publicly available to anybody in
Yeah.
public to take pictures.
If you're on your
Well,
day
a lot of
off,
times
if
we
you're
get
on your
a
day off,
job site and
if you're on your day off and walk down the street. And anybody that's walking down the street can see the job site, take a picture, put it on there.
But if you're on paid break, that's different. It's a paid break. You're still paid.
it's a paid break, but the law states that you must give us those breaks, but you cannot direct us or what our activities are during those breaks.
I would just consult with your attorney about that.
We can take photos on lunch, not during our breaks.
And what about after hours? We're off the clock, or it's the weekend. We come take pictures of park structures that we put up or signs that we erected and things like that. Are you saying we have to get your permission to post those on our employee association page?
Not when you're off duty.
So just pictures that are taken during paid working hours.
So we're proud employees and I know
I get it.
Yeah.
Trust me, I've been at this too long. I get
it's
it.
beautiful. We just want to post it. We're very proud to be here.
Right.
I mean,
And it, it's like when I had to turn on my computer, I was like, what? You gotta be kidding me. But, so I was down for 2 weeks without a computer. So why? Because we didn't have city email at the time. I'm glad we do now. It's the rules. How do I say this? The rules are there for everyone's protection, as much as I hate to say that. It's to protect you, it's to protect us, It's to protect our constituents because, you know, liability issues, they might end up having to foot the bill for something. So if we learn to just do things, this is what I'm doing on the clock, this is what I can do when I'm not on the clock.
All right, I'm just,
So to clarify. If you take that picture, right, you go take that picture, that play structure, that's fine. But it's when you put the content in there. It's the content that addresses the city business that becomes problematic at times. What comment you put with the picture?
and you want to control the narrative of comments that go on our pictures that we took on our personal unpaid time. Because we're employees, you want to.
He's addressing the pictures that are being taken while on the clock.
Okay, well, how does he know what pictures are taken on the clock? When you came to the shop last week, I told you that a bulk of those pictures were taken during unpaid lunch breaks, and you told us, the attorney says to take it down, take the page down.
No, what I
How
told you.
did, how did you
what
determine
What I
that all those
told you.
pictures were taken during?
Hold on, let me respond because you just asked me a question. What I told you is the way you guys were going about it on city time with your personal phones. That was
I
how it was
understand
conveyed to you.
some of
And-
the
and pretty clear,
content was
how it was conveyed.
undoubtedly done on city time.
And Caleb, the comments, his speaking points were given to him before he came down to you. And then 1 minute, 7:59 AM before he's supposed to be there at 8. And 7 minutes later, while he's giving his speech, the rogue website that said Toledo city employees got changed to a union website.
When it first started up, it wasn't union.
It wasn't union.
When it first started up, it said.
It said nothing about
We
the
worked
union.
for the city of Toledo, but.
Right,
it's a
so we
Toledo
said you
Employee
worked for the
Association.
city of
It
Toledo.
always said it was a Toledo Employee Association webpage.
No.
And I was asking, I was trying to get the criteria that you thought was violating city policy narrowed down so we could remove that. We were told to take the whole page down. The attorney says, take the whole page down
Do you mind?
multiple times.
I don't run the meeting?
And that's true, if it's a rogue website that's representing itself as the city.
Okay, gentlemen,
When you change it to the collector.
gentlemen. Okay. Where we're currently straying into, okay, in my opinion,
Yeah.
is employee union negotiations of how things should be done. Okay, so I would like to end this particular point of questioning. Okay, this is probably something that the union attorney needs to get a hold of the city attorney and let's start the dialogue there. Because this is a situation that I can tell you, just listening back and forth is not going to get solved here tonight. Okay, and as part of union negotiations, maybe that's something you can work out. I don't know. But I know that this is not the place to have that particular conversation, okay? Number one, we as elected officials are prohibited from being part of the bargaining process. So having essentially what I consider a point of possible bargaining on how photographs are used and so on and so forth, I would rather see that done at the bargaining table. So that we're not involved in that because we're not supposed to be involved.
Nobody brought up bargaining. I was bringing up the incident. where-
I know, but what I'm getting at is where you're straying to. You went from the incident specifically to what do you mean by that? And that calls for clarification, which is something that can be, when we're talking about bargaining units, that's what you guys do, right? You figure out what do you mean by X? What do you mean by Y? And let's figure out how we can all agree on what we mean by Z. Okay, so with this particular part, I would like you guys to we'll stop that here. We're gonna go back and get back into this policy. I would really love it if your attorney contacted our attorney and started working some of this stuff out, because maybe this is a reason to come back, right, at our next meeting before we address this, because maybe there'll be some language change. I don't know. Okay, but I don't want us to be involved in that discussion. Does that make sense?
Right, I believe that this whole social media policy is a reaction to us
No,
creating.
It started a year ago.
Yeah, it started a year ago. It's not, yeah. For those of us that have been here,
Yeah, we've been working on it a while.
we've been trying to make it happen.
And us, the rest of us are newbies.
And can I say
Yeah.
something just real quick? Mr. Hall, there's another thing that we have to take into consideration is some of the issues you are talking about are more employee-employer relations, and these are the type of things that we don't discuss in open council to protect the employees. These are the types of things that you do want to discuss with your lawyer and make sure that you have the proper representation and the proper terminology used, and make sure that communication is done appropriately. If we allow it to go on and on, some things can be disclosed that you don't want disclosed, we don't want disclosed, and would particularly be illegal to disclose. So we gotta be really careful that we don't cross those lines too, to protect you as much as to protect the city. I hope you understand that too.
But honestly, I'm glad you guys are thinking about it because it affects you as much as it affects
Right.
us. It's a good thing that you're asking questions.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
let's not
the
ask.
question's a great question to
Yeah,
ask.
yeah, we're not
It's when
trying to shut you
it's when it
down.
got into parsing words that, okay, we gotta stop it there at that point, okay? So yes.
So I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page. We're very excited. We want to work with the city. We're all working together. We all want a social media policy that works for everybody, so we can all have a voice and
Exactly.
including the union.
Yeah, and you know, I don't want your speech limited. I don't want our speech limited. I just learned that, well, I just gotta be careful when I use my full speech and when I don't.
And I didn't know about photos, so
Yeah.
I learned
Yeah.
something.
See, and that's what it is. So thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Sounds
bet.
to me like I all need a social media refresher.
Oh, boy. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so Stu, next question.
Okay, so it's in here that the leader needs to write.
Where are you at? So
I'm
we're
at the
all on the same page.
It looks like it was added on page 5,
Page 5.
5 and 10. The city Toledo reserves the right to remove comment and put things that may violate the applicable laws. And so in the city, I guess that would probably be the attorney and the city manager, since the council's gonna turn that over. Yeah.
Yes.
Page are you on?
So that's
Page
page
5 of this document.
Page
Five and 10.
Yeah.
Number 6.
5 of 10?
Yeah.
Boy, that's not the last page of the.
Yes.
No, he's talking about just the,
Here.
just
Oh,
the,
that little thing. Okay.
yeah.
Right here.
Mhm.
Okay.
And
I just want a clarification. Is that true? Is that you guys are the ones that are gonna do too?
Reference that.
Speak up.
Please reference that again.
The city of Toledo reserves the right to remove comments or postings that violate any applicable laws.
A list of content that will be removed may be viewed at, and that's where you're gonna link to the exhibit. You know, that next sentence, a list of content that will be reviewed may be viewed at. And that's where you're gonna have the social media guidelines in the exhibit.
So that's the criteria is whether or not something.
Yeah, that's the criteria, whether or not something.
Period. So then person that posted it then would be notified that's gonna be taken down, or you guys?
It just gets taken down if it violates that.
Violates that.
Yeah.
There'd be no notification to the person that put it on there.
No.
Well,
Not necessarily.
I'm sure they'll know.
They'll know.
Yeah, that's, I get that all the time.
I mean,
too.
seriously?
Yeah. So just, just trying to get that clarified on there, because there's a lot of stuff in this. And then. Guys, you get a chance to read through all this? Okay.
I read it yesterday.
I was having trouble sleeping.
this will do it.
Didn't that help?
No, I had to go to tax code.
Mhm.
I'd rather read this than go to tax code.
Trust me, all of it.
Sleep.
Next question, Sue.
Let's see,
So first, let us know where you're at so that we can all track.
I'm just looking through this thing because I've made a lot of.
I know, and that's why I'm assuming that we can go question to question to question because you've done all that highlight.
Yes, and I've had a lot of other people that reviewed this and said, what the heck was this about? And so that's why we're trying to get it clarified, and that's what I'm saying is that sometimes it takes a couple of, readings to get through this, and so that we do it right, and it would be nice to get it done right before we start putting it on the
Well, that
book.
makes the assumption that if we don't do it your way, it's not being done right.
No,
Okay, just pointing it
No,
out.
that's why,
Can
if
we
there's any
move on?
corrections or additions and such.
That's why I'm asking what's your next question. Because you want it clarified, so what's the next question? And then make sure you reference where you're at, so we're all on the same page as we read it.
So page 6, I highlighted the number 8, social media posts are considered public record if posts are made official site or volunteer or official private account, which makes or receives comments on city managers.
City matters.
Matters, yeah, okay.
Yeah, we already decided that dog is
Okay,
dead.
okay, so we worked through that.
Okay.
And then, I'm getting back here, and the next one is, the city staff and volunteers. We kind of talked about the volunteers and such on there.
Okay, where?
All.
Oh, the very next
volunteers.
line in
Yeah.
section 9, right below section 8.
Yeah. Get down here on the things pointed out to me and what I looked at and such on there. Question after question.
So what's our next section that we're looking at?
Okay, I'm just going down the list, right?
I know it. I'm trying to get us moving, Stu.
Well, I am moving on this
Well,
thing.
quit talking about it and
Yeah.
discuss the question, please.
Okay, I mean. Okay, decisions are all rest, whether they violate on there, it rests with the city manager, right? Okay, so that's what's in there. And then he consults with the city attorney, and that's true. Okay. And then as far as, like I say, if earlier with the city delegate, city attorney, if they can modify or delete and such on. Okay, so we're working through that.
So where are we going to next?
Oh, I was looking at the.
So are we into records retention
Yes.
finally? Okay, so
Yes.
now in records retention section.
Yeah, it's like, okay. Those engaged in social media activity must be familiar with the
This
city's
is-
record.
This is point number 2 under records retention, if you're trying to follow along.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Any post that's not a copy of a pre-existing record must be captured and retained by saving a copy and provided to the city recorder as records custodian. So we kind of got in on that. So I tell you that, that's another point. And we weren't sure how to do this, the Facebook parts to get it over there. So. Beaches and just kind of looking.
So now we are looking at section 5A.
Yeah. Photographs and so I think that's the comments and such. And talked about policy and historical stuff. Anyway. Anybody else has any questions, if Frank does and such on there? Whatever.
So have we covered all of your questions?
Oh, I know I've got several more, but I don't want to delay this.
But that's the whole point is if we're gonna discuss it, let's discuss the whole thing. So if you have questions, now is the time to ask questions.
So as far as the violations, the very last thing on there, and you know, talks about disciplinary action and such on there, so employees could be terminated if they violate this. Is that correct?
That's what it says, yeah.
Okay. Okay. And the volunteer could run into problems too. Okay, so
You could
everybody.
lose your volunteer position.
Yes. And
Would that mean I could go home?
The same thing, Tracy. I was like, how fast can I post something? And Brian just
Yeah.
like, no.
Get the boot real quick here. Because we delegated the authority to the city attorney and the city manager.
The LOC.
That is
has done
there.
that. The CIS has done that. We're not doing it.
Yeah, that violations is there in every policy we
Yeah.
have.
In every personnel policy.
In the personnel policy manual and all the policies that we adopt.
And we signed it in our handbook.
That's kind of the city manager ultimately responsible for all employees. And progressive discipline. Which is not only in the personnel policy, but in the collective bargaining agreements.
So I guess I'm just kind of hearing what they're talking about, and if they posted something on there and anybody posted something and we got in trouble for it, then we would be liable to be sanctioned or whatever here. If it ran afoul of what the city policy is here.
So even without this, though, we're already subject to that.
Yes, we are
We
subject
signed
to
it, we
that,
agreed
yes.
it. That's why I quit cussing on
Yeah.
social media. I saw, yes, because it said I had to. So I quit when I became a counselor, you know?
You're right.
So-
Yeah.
So that is why I saw that this began to become negotiated between a union entity and the city. And so if they want to negotiate a policy within TEA, negotiated with the city, however it works, let them do that in their negotiation. That's their bailiwick. Our bailiwick is to set the overarching rules and regulations as the policy within the city. You can have within a union contract with the city, a possible variation of this, as far as I know. Okay? And the only reason I can say that is because I've seen it in government before where one entity has a little bit more leeway than another entity does. Why? Because they negotiated. Okay, so that's why I wanted to step us out of that because we are not in that. We don't deal with those things. So I wanted to make sure we were out of it.
It's
Okay.
right there.
Okay, so are there any other questions, council? Well, well,
I think I'm just gonna refer to the other council.
well, I assumed you had a list of questions that you wanted to ask because
I went
you,
through it, yeah.
okay, so that's where I was headed. All
I
right,
don't know, maybe.
that's where I'm going next, Sue. Making sure that we got all the units done first. Okay. Any questions, council?
No. Well, I just really appreciate the clarity. And we belabored the point of understanding what's allowable, what is cautionary behavior in social media and email. So I appreciate
If in doubt, send it off to
understanding
Lisa.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this is a pretty good document. And, you know, I think having it under discussions, being able to talk about it and such on there is really important.
Well, and
That's why I
for the-
wanted to get it into there.
For the three of you that are new, okay, for Frank, Stu, and Jackie Byrne. normally at the beginning of your terms, which would be if you ran and then were elected, within that first couple of months before you officially swear on, we would have gone through an entire League of Oregon Cities training, part of which is an hour on social media and how to deal with it and all that stuff. So yes, the three of you have been thrown into the deep end of the pool. Okay, and I get that. And I appreciate all the questions and thank you for being attentive and learning while we go. I'm going to ask the question, does anyone want to move this to a decision item tonight or postpone until the next meeting?
Can we please? Can we pass it and just move on?
I feel like we have belabored this thing to death. We have not only killed
Hold
our
on,
dog,
hold
we
on.
killed the neighbor's dog.
Okay, Frank, go ahead, Frank.
Well, I think that we've kind of beat this dead horse with this stick until it can't be beat no more. And I'm glad that we brought it out and had a discussion because I think it needed to be discussed. But I really don't think pushing it to another meeting is going to get us anywhere but answers to the same questions that have already been answered.
So is there consensus to move this back into decision items?
Yes.
Yes.
By consensus, we will move into decision item, move it back into its spot in decision items. All right, moving into decision items. Yes, we do have other business. All right. First item under decision items are consideration to appoint individuals to the budget committee. Lisa.
Council, in your packets is the staff report and the applications for the vacancies on the budget committee. One person is an incumbent and he got held up and so he couldn't attend the meeting tonight. But you did interview two new applicants this evening. And so trying to find my packet, but in the council report, it outlines the terms available and recommended motions.
So currently the current motion as recommended is for all three to fill the vacancies that will expire at the end of 2025. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Any, well, first I would entertain a motion.
I move to appoint Andrew Keating to the budget committee term that will expire December of 2025. Appoint Barry Brewster to the budget committee term that will expire December 2025. And appoint Stacy Keating to the budget committee term that will expire December of 2025 before any of them get away.
I second.
Oh,
Let's do it. Double jacking. We don't mean maybe.
hold on.
If I read the background, it says 2 will expire in 25, 1 in 26. Which one is 26?
Well, I was just reading the motion. That's why I asked for clarification because I'd read the background too.
Oh,
So Lisa,
It says 2 in 25, 2 in 26.
right?
and one expired December 24, 2 expired 25, 1 expired.
Because the one that expired in 24 is a new
Is it?
term. And then, oh, so I had a miscount there.
It will expire December 24, right?
No, it did expire in 2024.
Ow.
We're in.
We're in 2020, we're
February,
in
not
February of
December.
24.
Hello. I need coffee. It's been a long meeting.
Yeah, a very long one.
Yeah.
So yes, all three are going into terms that will why do I have 2020?
I don't know.
So they wouldn't all expire 2025, only 2 would, and 1 would expire 2026.
Yes. That's
Okay,
correct.
for the Keatings in the back, I want to see it. Rochambeau, ready? Who gets the 26? Ready? Okay, Andrew says he'll do the 26.
So should I amend my motion?
Yes,
Okay.
before I give a second to something.
Okay. My motion is so amended, yeah.
Okay. Is there a second?
Yes,
Somebody,
let's do it.
I wouldn't hear the cacophony.
We didn't get double Jackie.
Oh, no, I got Jackie and everybody. Even Frank wanted.
So does this mean we still need one more person for budget committee?
Lisa?
I'm looking at the terms right now.
Can we vote?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
All right, folks, we still need one more. Pushes. All right, it's been moved by Tracy, seconded by Jackie Burns to appoint Andrew Keating to the Budget Committee term that will expire in December of 2026. Appoint Barry Brewster to the Budget Committee term that will expire in December of 2025, and appoint Stacy Keating to the Budget Committee to a term that will expire in December of 2025. I will take a roll call vote. Counselor Kaufman,
Yes.
Counselor Strong,
They're willing, let's vote yes.
Council President Bush.
Yeah.
Frank,
Yes, sir.
Counselor Burns,
You, thanks.
Counselor Mix,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Motion carries 7-0. Welcome aboard to a nice long meeting.
They're not normally like this.
They're all like this, don't let them lie to you.
Oh, God, I can remember lasted until 11.
Oh, God.
We're not done yet.
All right, next item, consideration to approve an expenditure of up to $55,000 to extend a water line on Highway Business 20.
Is he awake?
Sorry, my legs are cramping.
Thank you for hanging in there.
Come for you tonight, ask for permission to approve this extension so we can get some water to some folks out closer to regular Highway 20. It'll be about, as we talked about in our goals and whatnot, 940-foot extension along Business Highway 20. There'll be the addition of 3 fire hydrants, so they'll improve safety if need be. And yeah, please.
So as I understand it, then this will be able to hook up the Thirsty Fisherman and the Henry site out there. Is that
For the
correct?
time being, yes.
Perfect.
Opportunities for later expansion too.
Exactly.
Does the flooding that we generally get affect any of this? Are we just moving water out there but not sewer yet?
Sewer's
Sewer's already out there.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, never mind.
They've been on city sewer for some time.
Okay, great.
So right now, by extending that and doing the 55,000, approximately 3 houses out there and one business. Is there anybody else that is scheduled to be hooked up?
These were the ones that they've already paid their fees in the anticipation of having this take place. And to move forward, no other people, to my knowledge, have inquired about being hooked up at this point.
Yeah.
Didn't somebody say at one of the last meetings that Dahl had agreed that they will extend from where we stop out to?
I can't speak on them. I'm not sure.
Yeah, they're in business discussion.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it'll also possibly allow us to loop our line back up to the church up on the top of the hill and give us better pressure and looped lines eventually, not right away, but the potential is there now.
By looping, you mean it comes down from the old hospital site?
If you loop a line, it can be fed from different directions.
That's already coming down, going to the.
There's currently a line right now, and the meter's actually ways away from there. And we'd be tacking onto that line that goes up there and bringing it down and creating the loop that would also increase pressure, as Doug said.
Besides the 3 houses that, it's all flooded.
There's no houses in the current, it's 2 businesses.
The houses on the side that you're putting.
Talking about the 2 that you go by when you're
Yeah.
putting in your line is the 2 he's talking about.
Oh, they already have existing.
They already have water.
They already have.
They're already on.
Yeah, already on city water.
I'm just going beyond that, from them to Henry's lot.
It'll basically span out to where the turnoff for 229 is, but on the incoming lane of Highway Business 20 coming into Toledo. So roughly across from the Dairy Queen
Okay, so I mean, it's just a pretty good expense of funds and such on there, so I would want to be pretty clear on what's going on and stuff. So, you know, that's why I looked up and I didn't know those other three houses were.
Do we have the slide?
It's in their packet.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah, we-
looking at, I'm looking at it.
Gotcha.
Those houses are already on.
They're already on City Hall?
Yeah. So it says estimated cost, so
This is estimation, this is in case, you know, we went a little high on it. I'm still getting my bearings on this. I'm trying to be better and it's gonna take a little bit of time. But just in case something rears its ugly head, I didn't wanna have to come back and ask for more type deal.
but not.
Better
to
for permission
exceed
than ask for
55.
forgiveness.
You're doing a great
That's
job,
why it's
Brian.
an up to.
We got a pretty good crew.
Well,
It's
and-
Public Works doing the work, right? Absolutely, that's just money for the material.
Estimated cost of 55,000.
We will have to have some assistance in certain areas. There's a gray area. Northwest Natural considers like a higher risk type area, so we're gonna be extra cautious. And then when we do that, we'll have Northwest Natural on site, so we can get through that
I
area.
was looking.
Okay, I just didn't know how this was fitting into your master plan of putting in hydrants and water lines and such.
This is a continuation and hopefully we just
I know it's a
continue to better the
continuation.
infrastructure.
The high on the list, or if it was just something that came
It's
up.
something that's needed to be done. It was in the works prior to my becoming this position. And we just kind of modified it to make more sense and also add the fire hydrants for safety too.
It looked like we were putting the line out there, and then with only 3 people on it, it looked like a pretty big expense. And so if there's gonna be some future expansion.
There's opportunity for this future expansion. I think that's going there is a high density polyethylene 6-inch line. It's
6-inch line.
very,
That's pretty good.
very sturdy, very durable.
Yeah.
And with the potential for growth off of that line will be there. And again, you know, I'm not to beat a dead horse, but the 3 extra added fire hydrants is kind of a necessity in that area too.
A lot of horses here tonight.
Yeah, there's 3 houses, so 3 fire hydrants.
So that would also feed for Lincoln Way, that would also feed for Radio Court, that would also feed for Westwood Street, not Terrace anymore.
Yeah.
Anything that happens in those exteriors, Dairy Queen, anything that happens in those areas, there's more fire hydrants for exit.
The truck stop.
Yeah, well, yeah, the short stop.
The gas
Maybe they've
station.
got some plans or something to put something else in up there.
And you said people have already, the fees have been paid.
These
by
folks, these fees have already been paid, they've been paid up front. They've been anticipating this for some time, and it's just, we need to follow through with it.
Yeah, I agree.
I know behind them, it's all floodplain and such. There's not gonna be any future houses back there.
I can't speak on that, I'm not part of that planning committee.
This will take care of the tip property too.
What's that?
This will give access to water to the tip property too.
There's no tip
I
there.
don't think there's any.
No, this is out by Dairy Queen. There's
Yeah,
no tip
see, this
property
is-
out there.
This is the.
Yeah, but it's just
Yeah.
back around.
No, tip property is
Tip property is,
Yeah.
down by
it's,
the
give me a golf ball, I'll hit it.
Yeah.
Right.
If it's
Yeah.
in there.
Memorial Field.
Then,
Never
There you
mind.
go.
then the big thing would be somebody else hooking up.
That was a curveball I didn't see coming.
Yeah. So,
And-
but if it did go under the road, then there might be future expansion and such. Is that-
There will be
that
room
might
for
be-
expansion in several directions if we can, we're able to complete
Well,
that.
we already reach across the road in part in city limits, and there could be possibility of extension across Highway 20, and this helps get us closer to that happening. So,
Just for clarity and such on why we're doing this and on there, that's what I'm getting at.
any other questions or comments?
Nope.
All right, I would entertain a motion.
Move to approve an expenditure of up to 55,000 for a water line extension project.
I second it. Yay.
All right, it's been moved. Yeah. It's been moved by Tracy, seconded by Kim to approve an expenditure of up to $55,000 for a water line extension project. I will take a roll call vote. Counselor Kaufman,
Yes.
Counselor Strong,
Yes.
Counselor Sylvia,
Absolutely.
Counselor Burns,
Yes.
Council President Bush,
Yes.
Counselor Mix.
Do it now.
And I vote yes. Go forth and plow.
Thank you, Council.
All right. Resolution number 1543, a resolution establishing an email and social media policy.
Well, it's probably past.
Well, I'm glad they were around.
Yeah. Insightful.
All right. Mike, give us a brief note.
Mayor, this is important because it provides a framework for decisions
Thank you.
to mitigate legal risks.
That's brief.
Any further questions from council?
The big reason is that we need to push this through tonight. Is there reason for it? Or was
Because
it
there's
just
no reason to delay it.
no reason to delay it? I mean, we put it on there, then if there's some things that need to be changed, like later, we can do that. So
It's a policy, it would be easy to change, Counselor. The issue of whether it's approved tonight or continued for another meeting is up to the council.
Oh, please, let's don't.
It's a council decision.
If there was gonna be potential more public input and such on there, then
Why would,
forego that.
why would we need public input? It doesn't affect the public, it affects.
Volunteers and such affects a lot of people.
But this is.
Volunteers don't have access to the city's website pages unless given access by the city manager or the city leaders such as Chief Robison or Chief Pace. The volunteers don't have access to those pages, so it's not going to affect those volunteers.
Right?
Fundamentally, that's true.
Yeah, fundamentally, he is correct.
Fundamentally.
And if they're given permission by those heads of those departments, then it no longer falls on those volunteers. Like say Chief
On the
Pace
department
gives
head.
permission to a volunteer through the police department, it then falls on Chief Pace now, no longer the volunteer. It's because the manager gave that approval, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so there's no danger to the volunteers because they literally have no access to hurt themselves.
Unless it's given by a department head or the city manager.
Correct.
Exactly.
So, yeah. I don't see a reason to delay it anymore.
I would entertain a motion.
I move,
No, somebody else do it.
I move to approve resolution number 1543. Resolution of the Toledo City Council establishing email and social media policy. I second.
It's been moved by Kim, seconded by Jackie Burns to approve resolution number 1543, a resolution of the Toledo City Council establishing an email and social media policy. I will take a roll call vote. Counselor Mix,
Yes.
Counselor Kaufman,
Yes.
Counselor Strong.
I believe it should be.
So is that a yes or a no vote?
That is a no vote.
Thank you. Counselor Sylvia,
Yes, sir.
Counselor Burns,
Yes.
Council President Bush.
Yes.
I vote yes, motion carries 6-1. Next item, resolution number 1544, a resolution accepting and distributing unanticipated safe dividend monies.
Mayor, I'm actually very pleased to bring this one before council. In light of all the conversation tonight, and additionally, that I believe this is a great thing for recognizing our city employees and who they are. And every year, Safe Corporation issues dividend checks out back to its members. And this year they allocated up to $135 million to its members. Our share of that based on our mod, which is, our low rates of safety issues that we've had. And based off our premium, we ended up getting $22,325 back. After discussing with staff and looking at some programs, and I thought, what's the best way to use this money? And I think this money needs to go back to our employees. And so I've been doing some searching around, making sure we can do this, and we can. I would like to take this money and split it amongst our employees at the rates that you have there. 2.5% for the people that earned it, of the $22,235 or $325. And 2% for the management side, and then the part-time employees would end at a pro rata basis based off the 2.5%. Basically, they're the ones that earned it. They're the ones that kept it safe. They're the ones that are out there doing the hard work. They deserve the bigger chunk of the money. So I gave them more of the money. The other part of that is it does leave a little money left over that I wanted to put into an employee appreciation line item, which we already have, which we used for a Christmas party. This would be on the summer side to do an appreciation barbecue or something for all of our employees and their families during the summer. It would leave about a little over $3,000 left over for that to help them. So in essence, we'd be giving out just under $20,000 in bonuses. And I think for the full-time employee, like our regular public works guys or regular police officers, those guys are gonna get about a bonus. It's gonna be right around $515 to $520. You are management staff. Yeah, management staff's gonna be around $415, and the part-time employees would be just whatever their pro rata basis is. And then also we do have the MOUs that both the associations would have to sign, that this is a one-time deal. We don't get this bonus every year. This is the first time that we've gotten it in many, many years. We've had a very bad mod rate, and so we never did earn it. So here we are celebrating getting a cheaper bill from SAFE and passing that savings on to employees.
Any questions or comments, council?
I just think this speaks to really good leadership.
The money that we received is money that, I understand about the bonuses and such on there, because these guys work hard and working safe. It's a good idea. And I'm just, for clarity, the money that we paid in to SAFE was not out of their checks or anything. It was all city money, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it's our workman's comp fund.
Package.
Yep.
Well, no, it's not a benefit
Well, it's
package.
required.
It's our workman's comp.
Yeah.
Yeah, and because we didn't have any safe accidents and such on there, or we had very few, that's why we got our money back.
Yes.
Think of it as no recordables.
Non-reportable or.
Reportables.
Yeah.
Try to figure your language here.
Okay, well, and that's, I just wanted to get that out, is why we're doing this is because they worked in a safe way. And
Correct.
just rewarding them for whatever.
Correct.
I mean, in the public
The only
side,
way we get this money, the only way this money comes back is if our employees work safely.
right,
So who should get the rewards for working safely? The employees.
yes, and that's
That's
the
simple.
discussion to get it out into the public, because
Yes.
we're gonna have to, when we get bonuses and such on there, we have to have a reasons for it and in the meeting and such.
And the staff felt that the bigger share of that bonus should go to the workers out in the field than in office, obviously. And that's what we did.
Okay, so I know, you said earlier, that was one of the questions, that in the past, we have not gotten not bonuses, but money back from them.
Correct.
So, that negates the other question is, well, why in the past year, did we put it back into the account and pay the account down? But that's the reason for it. And so that's why I'm just kind of speaking.
In the past, we've been paying penalties.
Yeah, in favor of it. The employees did very well, and keeping the accident rate down, I think that's, you know, in my opinion, they deserve it.
Frank,
I just gotta say, this is another reason why I love this city, because you guys are getting a reward for the employees out there working safely. And instead of putting it into the pockets of the bigger, higher ups, you're giving it back to the employees. So I just gotta give you kudos for that. I read that when I read the packet this last weekend. I was just amazed. So good job.
Non-exempt.
Non-exempt or so an exempt employee, non-exempt employee are like your collective bargaining units.
Okay, so department heads would be included in this.
No, department heads are exempt employees.
Okay.
And supervisors are not included, they're non-exempt either.
Yes, and supervisors are non-exempt.
Wow.
Other question is, currently, you know, this is for the past year. And have we lost people employed that deserve any of this money?
Okay, I'm gonna
or-
correct you right now.
Yeah,
Safe dividend checks are not necessarily based solely on the last year. Safe does not base their dividends on the prior 12 months. They base it on a period of activity, sometimes up to the last 10 years. So this dividend, what they do is they show an overage, if I'm remembering, correct me if I'm wrong, they show an overage. And by their, I don't know if it's laws or what it is, they have to give a portion of that back. Because SAFE is not actually a for-profit business, is my understanding. They're a nonprofit. It's just like these telephone cooperatives and stuff that have to give dividend checks based on their over earnings. And so it's basically returned based on how much. And so what SAFE does is say, okay, we made $2 million too much. And then we have to return that because that's above and beyond what our expenses were. And the way they allocate that is based on, then they allocate it based on how much they feel should be returnable. And part of that formula that they use is how many injuries, how many claims do they have to pay out and whatnot.
And
And
the
this is
size of
saying that-
and the size of your.
Yes,
Your bill, basically.
exactly.
Yeah.
So this isn't, it's not based on the last year. It's based on a period of time. And this is just a return of over collected profits, you might say,
Yeah.
that they are required to return.
it's not a private insurance agency that just keeps pocketing whatever
Yes.
they don't have to shell out in dividends.
Mhm.
They have to meet certain regulatory rules that the state has put on them because they are a state agency.
Kind of a quasi.
Yeah.
Kind of a quasi government entity.
Any other questions, comments? All right, I'm just gonna say, good job. Well done. Keep it up. Right? I mean, that's the whole idea. I was here in office when Larry and Dave had their accident and I'd known those guys for 15, 20 years. It about tore my heart out.
Yeah.
I don't want to go through that again.
They termite.
Keep it up.
Yeah.
Just keep doing the right things at the right time. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I wish that dividend check was about 3 times that size.
yeah, I wish it was the 3 million and.
Who does it though? All right, I would entertain a motion.
Move to approve resolution number 1544, a resolution of the Toledo City Council accepting and allocating unanticipated monies from Safe Corporation.
Second.
Second.
I'm gonna, because of the
You
time
go.
delay.
You go
Because of the
ahead.
time delay, I'm
Give
gonna
it
give it
to
to
him.
Frank.
Give it to them. I don't mind sharing.
Okay, it's been moved by Tracy, seconded by Frank to approve resolution number 1544, a resolution of the Toledo City Council accepting and allocating unanticipated monies from Safe Corporation. I will take a roll call vote. Counselor Kaufman,
Yes.
Counselor Strong,
Yes.
Counselor Burns.
Yes.
No.
Right.
No, Council President Bush.
I was waiting, yeah. Yep.
So you do it.
Okay.
I. Just
Don't ask who you forgot.
Counselor Sylvia,
No.
Yes.
Counselor Miggs. Okay, and I vote yes. Motion passes. All right, reports and comments. I'll start with Lisa. Got anything?
Just a reminder, next week's meeting is not on Wednesday, it'll be on Tuesday, and it's the Urban Renewal Agency goal session, which will start at 5:30. One other quick thing, I have been successful so far this year of uploading our council and planning commission meetings to YouTube. So we have those if you haven't checked them out. Right?
Riveting entertainment.
You often ask why I don't make reactions during meetings. That's when I get to make my reactions afterwards. Anyways, that's all I have for tonight.
Okay, any questions for Lisa? All right, Chief Pace.
But for me,
Okay, Chief Robison,
No, nothing.
Interim Library Director.
Just the upcoming events, we've got an event for spring. I'll keep it brief and I'll say it here in a public forum so that this will be published information that any attendees can disseminate either through official channels.
Can we get that in writing?
Private individuals. In a time and manner. City. Okay?
I love you.
Okay, check back in.
Hearing loss and the mask on your face doesn't help.
I don't want to hear too much. Got my family's cold. We've got some teens and tweens arts and eats events coming up in March and April, Friday, March 29th, Thursday, April 18th, and Saturday, May 11th. On April 19th, Lego Masters contestant Kelly Bartlett will be coming for a presentation and some activities. There are 50 spots. It is free, but registration is required. Guess who's turning 80 this year? Smokey Bear.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say Raj.
I was took a older brother there.
If you've seen Smokey Bear recently illustration, he's ripped. He's got.
I know. The name's of Smokey Bear on your.
Yeah. There's forest fire, he'll throw a truck at you.
Did you catch what he said there? Smokey Bear? It's not Smokey the Bear. That'll get you put beat down.
Really?
Yo, it's not Smokey the Bear. Smokey Bear, yeah. And the state is very clear on it. But still.
Will they not give me a pencil if I say Smokey the Bear instead of Smokey Bear?
I actually saw this down at our national night out. He corrected the kid that called him Smokey the Bear.
Serious?
No, no, but you understand, it was so cute. He reached down, he goes, Smokey Bear, and just hands it to him.
Oh.
They put great effort into that.
Yes.
Saturday, April 27th, noon to 4, Smokey will be there at the library. Activities, snacks and swag, youth poetry. Smokey will be there. That's all I got.
Any questions for Harrison? All right, Brian. You don't get out of this scot-free.
I got nothing. I appreciate my guys.
Any questions for Brian?
You're moving forward on the street. It has got the big hole in it up there.
First Street?
For engineering.
Everything moves forward as long as council agrees with it, so we're still maintaining, we're moving forward. We should be having a 90% sign off, good to go, hoping to start opening up for bids in March.
That's one of the big questions I get asked.
Any other questions for Brian? All right. City Attorney.
I think we've heard me talk enough. I appreciate the comments and input from staff tonight.
Any questions, Mike? Okay, Doug?
Only thing I was gonna say is, as of today, we're still on the bill for getting 1.6 million for our public safety building for phase 2. We are still on the bill to get that. It could get kicked off, but as of right now, we're still on. We are making an application with the federal government, Senator Merkley's and Senator Wyden's office through the Department of Homeland Security and their Emergency Operations Center to fund another $1 million of our public safety building for our dispatch center. So in the process of getting the letters put together, it's been a whole ordeal, but we're getting there. So I think I got it ironed out. I'll find out in the morning when I get the response. So that's kind of the exciting news. We're really working to get, if everything goes perfect, which that's $2.6 million more that we're getting in federal and state money to help, that won't be coming out of our general fund to help finish up or help on the public safety bill. So.
Any questions for Doug?
On the other side of that, we are scheduled to have a bond issue here. And the information that we need kind of talk about it, is there going to be any?
I want to speak to that next.
Yeah, anything,
You'll get your turn.
anything that is put together yet? I know we should probably get on it so people.
I can, I will talk with the city recorder and we will get information for you to talking points.
And if we could get a tour up there, that'd be appreciated too. So we could take photos of it and post it.
I can get it up there. I wouldn't go up on top of it.
Yeah, no, I've seen the photos on top of it. No.
Well, I would.
That is the
but I
big
mean,
thing. People don't
I'll sign a waiver.
understand that the age of it, the cost of just repairing it versus the cost of this and on. So we need to get that information out there and the vitality and what it does for the infrastructure of the community. So they will vote for it.
Lisa,
It'll be getting inspected too, so.
So staff, meaning myself, is currently trying to put the information together, the resolution, extrapolating the video where Jonas Beery talked to the council, and factual information will go on the website. Staff cannot prepare any talking points for council, because it's,
Yes,
because it's an election. So-
that's what we need.
but we just need the factual stuff so that we can.
Yes, and once I get that page created on the website, which I'm already working on, along with the public notice and everything, I will share it with the council.
We can prepare facts before it's filed.
You cannot?
We can
Yeah,
prepare
that's
facts
what,
before it's filed.
yeah, that's fine. That's
So,
what I'm working on,
yes.
trying to get that.
Well, we can prepare talking points as well before it's filed.
Oh, the talking points.
Yes.
Okay.
Once it's filed, then we have to shut up.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or just give purely factual and.
Purely factual, right? Right. Okay. Any questions for Doug? Okay, council comments? Tracy?
Yes. I think some of you have a little flyer that I saw you today.
Mm-hmm.
Check my mail. I have a PO box in Newport for my business. And I got one of these wonderful fact sheets that the city of Newport put together. They're trying to push for a fuel tax to pay some for road repairs and stuff. And I thought this was really well put together. And I'm not the type of person that likes to reinvent the wheel. But I thought that if we could get something out to our citizens like this, and I know we keep saying, oh, it's in with the water bill. Honestly, people, nobody reads the damn letter in the water bill. There's 12 people that read it. They all talked to Ron already. Nobody else cares.
Okay.
But the nice thing about this flyer is it has some really good talking points, a couple good pictures that are like, and I'm not saying we need to do exactly the same thing, but I think it would be a good idea for us to send out just a flyer, just on the bond measure that we want to promote and why it is so important. We need to be very clear. I think this is why our measure failed last time. People did not understand why it was so important for us to get that water tank replaced. And I think that there's a lot we could do to reach out to people with this.
You mean separate from?
Not separate from the water bill. We are not reaching people with our water bill. And we're not reaching people on the website.
Did this come in your mail?
It came in my mail today.
Was it folded?
No, it was just stuck in my PO box like.
Oh, just stuck,
It's just a little mail
Oh, okay.
Everybody. in
Okay,
the
I
town.
didn't know they could do that. That's why I was asking.
Yes,
Okay.
they can, and so it's just a two-sided mailer that goes to everybody in town.
Gotcha.
And so I thought this would be
Okay.
great. It's got QR codes, it's got all sorts of stuff that we could link to. And I know Lisa, it's like she has a ton on her plate already. But, you know, if we don't promote this, it's gonna fail again. And we
So-
cannot afford too many more failures.
So here's what we need to add on to that. How to handle this. Number one, we need to find out what it would cost for us to do this, okay? And I know where I can get the money to, within the budget to make that work,
Okay.
okay? But, you know, as far as Lisa putting it all together, I would rather see a committee of us take the facts, put it together to put it out. If that makes more sense.
When do we
That
need
way-
to have this put out by? When is?
If you're gonna have the city pay for it and put this out, it has to be done before it's filed.
Right.
Okay, and when is it gonna be filed?
The very latest is March 21st.
Oh,
Okay.
good Lord and better.
So I
So
give you an idea, but I can't do anything to help you.
that's okay. You don't, you know, just
And I
because it's your idea, doesn't mean you gotta be there.
And I believe there is like a door-to-door mailer. I forget what the cost is.
I think that's basically what this is, yeah.
Yeah,
And that's,
it's,
I didn't know that you could do that.
Yeah.
yeah, and we've had to do it before for public notices,
Right.
and it wasn't super expensive.
Probably gonna be around $500 to $700.
Okay, thank you. All right, so, put that on the agenda for,
March.
yeah, for March first, or first meeting in March, about that expenditure.
That's the people.
Okay,
Do you want a flyer already semi-prepared?
well, and that's, so here's what I'm thinking. All of us sit down with this, shoot our ideas to Lisa so that she can compile them. I don't want her to have to do the heavy lifting. Let's let us do the heavy lifting on this. Okay, and send that to Lisa. We'll have a decision item on expenditure to make that happen. Okay, does that work? Okay,
I mean, if everybody's okay with it.
yeah, that's why I'm asking.
I think
Like,
it'll be just for the water tower this time, right?
right, yeah, that's all we're doing, the water tower. Okay? Anything else, Tracy?
No, thank you.
You got it. Jackie? Kaufman?
Nothing from me.
Stu?
I would just say that I enjoyed the meeting this afternoon. The pulled pork was delicious. And the conversation and listening to the other cities and such on there was very informative. And got to ask a couple of questions and he answered pretty easily, except for the parking on Newport. That's gonna be an ongoing battle. But other than that, no.
That's it? Okay. No, you're next to last. Councilor, nothing? Frank, you got anything for us?
Not really. I went to my first CWAC meeting last week, I think it was. And oddly enough, they didn't even have enough people to show up to hold meeting. So no quorum, so they canceled it pretty quick. There's another one tomorrow. We'll see if they actually have a quorum for that one. But I think we only had just a few of us from Lincoln County. Other than that, I got nothing.
Okay. Lisa?
Really quick, just if you get me that information for March 6th, I need it by next Wednesday, the 28th to put it in.
So that you can compile it and put it in the packet.
No rush or anything.
Oh, come on. You work on short deadlines all the time. You do.
You can do your artwork.
Anything? I knew that was coming. I was just waiting, somebody here was gonna have to say it. Anything? So I have a couple items real quick. One that is of interest to Chief Pace. We sent out through our OMA network today. We believe that through the League of Oregon Cities and our lobbying effort, that we believe we've been able to come up with a compromise on 110, where cities don't have to provide mandatory diversion or whatever word that they were using within the main bill that's going through the fix to 110. Because one of the sides wanted every police agency to have a diversion, or there's another word they're using, but essentially drug treatment in place for whoever they arrested. And we've managed to get them to understand that most counties don't have that, let alone most cities. And so it's going to become, the letter we put out today was asking for other mayors and cities to sign off on this as a compromise. It's when you get it, you do it. But for right now, you do what you do.
Like a detox?
Yeah, think detox. They call it, there's, because it's also mental health and all the other things. And so that's why it's all lumped into one other word. So Chief, I wanted to make sure you knew about that. Us smaller agencies have really been working hard to try and make sure that, dude, we don't have that kind of money. So they finally started listening to that. So hopefully they'll get the message with the next round of negotiations this week.
OACP and OSSA are both working with the mayors to present a good package that will something that all cities of different sizes can.
Exactly.
So
instead of making, because we can't do one size fits all right now.
exactly.
So today at our meeting, we had Sarah Murky of Oregon Department of Energy. One of the things that she brought up was a state program to for cities to be able to, for example, put solar panels up on the fire department and on the new police department. Since there are emergency facilities and can be used in times of power outage. So we can not just put in the panels, but put in the batteries, the storage capability to hold it.
At 100%.
Yes, I was waiting to throw that kicker in there.
Wow,
100%
huge.
grants.
Up to 1 million.
Yes.
Wow, good.
Up to 1 million for construction, 100,000 for planning, and they're two separate ones.
Does that mean Larry won't have to get on the treadmill to keep the lights on?
Okay, no, I don't want to watch that again. Okay, no, yeah.
They do have to be
So I approached City Manager Wiggins earlier today, check into the program to see if we can start with a planning, get a planning grant to do the fire department. And because they run every year and they don't, and so for example, we could put in for a planning one for the fire department this year, the construction one for it next year. But while we're also put in for the construction one for the fire department, we can also put in a planning one
For the
for the police department. And then have it the next year have put in for the construction one for the police department. So it's an opportunity for our public buildings to become more resilient in times of absolute chaos. Also, there's also a program to upgrade city buildings, electrical systems and such that was on there. Gee, sounds like City Hall is a perfect candidate for that. All we have to do is say, this is the year it was built. Shoot. I think we can get right in on that.
Would the Public Works building have at their qualified?
Public Works
Well,
building,
is that the
Public safety.
station, the public safety building? It won't qualify?
probably not, because it's not old enough. And it's part of the construction is to redo everything in there.
Could we just take pictures of hub and nail and post it?
The what?
Hub and nail, the old wiring.
So I will be on the road to the League of Oregon Cities. We're meeting in Condon tomorrow night and Friday.
Is that in Oregon?
Yes, it is in Oregon. For those of you that don't know where it is, if you go 2 hours and 15 minutes north by northeast of Redmond, there's Condon.
Oh, my God.
If you know where Fossil is, it's 30 miles north of Fossil.
Okay, I know where Fossil is.
Okay, so,
I didn't know people lived out there.
oh yeah, oh yeah.
They don't have motels there.
Yes, there is.
You bunk with Auntie Pew.
So that's where I'll be the next couple of days. one of the things that we are really, and one of the reasons why we're having the meeting in Cotton is this year, since our president is Dave Drotzman, mayor of Hermiston, we're gonna try and have all of our LOC meetings on that side of the mountains. For example, later this summer, we're going to Joseph, and that's where we're gonna have a meeting. For those of you that follow how a lot of this stuff works, when it comes to state things, darn near everything is in the I-5 corridor. And, you know, one of the things that they hear is you don't ever come out south and you don't ever come out east. And so we've made some conscious efforts within the League of Oregon Cities and the Oregon Mayors Association to spread things out. So League of Oregon Cities will be in Klamath Falls this year for the spring conference. That's also where the Mayors Association will be this year, is in Klamath Falls. And then this fall, the League of Oregon Cities main meeting will be in Bend. League of Oregon Cities main meeting is kind of pigeonholed into one of 3 or 4 places just because of the size of the conference. There's just too many people for a lot of venues to hold. But we're making a conscious decision to go out east this year. So I get to put more miles on my car, and luckily my wife has been able to get those dates off. So it's, I am blessed because I like riding my car for many hours with my wife. I can't say that about some guys I know, but I can for me, and I love it. So,
Road trip.
you know, what we discussed tonight, one of the things that we need to understand is we're elected to make those decisions. And part of being elected to make those decisions is reading the packet through. If you have questions that you can ask ahead of the meeting, call them. Their lines are open and they'll answer questions. If you have questions of clarification, if you have questions of policy, you can ask them, well, why? And if you still disagree, that's what the council meeting's for. Okay. It helps all of us to be not just informed, but be the best informed. Because we are the ones that have to answer questions in the public eye. We are the ones that are the public face of the city. And so the less we are, for lack of a better word, in tune with what we're doing, the more chaos ensues. Because if one person believes it to be this way and another person believes it to be this way, well, then you have friction. Part of the reason we have the council meetings and part of the reason for the serial meetings laws are so that we can make that joint decision together at the same time. Instead of, I'm sure some of you have been around long enough to remember when councils met at the bar. And they, you know, the 5 guys decided on what was going to happen before they ever got to a meeting. And they just came in and did what they wanted to do because they knew they had the 5 guys to make the votes happen. We're trying to get away from that. We're trying to make sure the public's business is done in the public. That's why we put the packets out, that it's public. The packets are public for anybody to get and read. But we've got to make sure we are clear on what we're doing. And I appreciate the questions you wanted to ask tonight. Just know that if we do things over many, many meetings, there's a lot of things that won't get done, or as in tonight, we'll be here for 3 hours and 22 minutes. And with that, I wish you all a great weekend. I'm hoping we have no snow on the mountains this week.
If you're traveling